Apocalypse. My abilities are becoming more and more wicked. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. What's so fun about guns? After going downstairs and out of the yard, Lin Qi closed the gate and rode the shared bike quickly towards the opposite bridge. It had been a few minutes since the rat tide, and basically all the mutant rats had returned to their sewer nests to enjoy the feast. Even if there were a few scattered ones, Lin Qi didn't care. When he arrived near the armored vehicle, Lin Qi put down the bike and approached carefully. This time he didn't carry a bow and arrow, but only a spear. Looking around, there were only scattered bloodstains on the ground around him, and the mutant rats had long disappeared. Lin Qi then approached the armored vehicle carefully. The tires of the car had been replaced, but there was still one tire that had not been installed, which was why the car was not driven away. When he came to the door, Lin Qi tried to pull it, and with a click, the door opened directly. It seemed that those people had opened the lock when they repaired the car, so he quickly got in. After sitting in the armored vehicle, Lin Qi breathed a sigh of relief, quickly checked it, then turned over from the driver's seat and got into the back seat. The armored vehicle had a large space inside, with 2 rows of seats extending all the way to the rear. The interior decoration was simple, and the thickness of the steel plate could be clearly felt. There were several guns that Lin Qi couldn't name hanging on both sides, and the seats were filled with boxes. So many good things. For a moment, Lin Qi didn't know what to take away, and there were many unfamiliar machines that must be of great use. Hey, what am I thinking about? Can't I just drive the car away? After getting off the car, Lin Qi pushed the tire that had rolled aside back, tightened the screws with tools, removed the jack, put all the tools into the car, and sat back in the driver's seat. The iron wire was inserted into the keyhole, and the ignition was started. With bursts of roars, the armored vehicle drove quickly in the direction of Zhao Tuanshuan. But not long after it started, a voice came from the communicator hanging on the driver's seat. B-13, who started B-13? It turned out that each armored vehicle had a positioning system. The rescue teams that had just left had reported the situation to the central camp. Because someone was injured, they were now driving towards the central camp with all their strength. Noticing that B-13's machine was activated, the command center quickly sent a question. And positioning? This kind of thing must be blocked, otherwise it will be tracked wherever it goes. Lin Qi was overwhelmed for a moment. He must be reluctant to give up this armored vehicle with outstanding defense at this time. At least he had to take out everything inside. So while driving, he distractedly studied the machine in the car. Unlock, unlock, it can be unlocked and locked. Can I turn off the locator in the car? Lin Qi suddenly had an idea. After this idea came to his mind, it seemed that inspiration had opened up in his mind. His eyes swept through the car and soon found the problem. So he reached out and slapped the machine, and the questioning voice in the communicator stopped abruptly. The armored vehicle drove to the residential area on the other side of the river. Zhao Tuanshuan had already seen Lin Qi driving the armored vehicle over from the window and was waiting at the door in advance. Hurry up and get in the car, we have to leave here as soon as possible. The positioning system of the central camp could not find B-13, and a helicopter would definitely be sent to search. Lin Qi only had a few minutes. Therefore, the most urgent task is to drive the armored vehicle to a safe and secret place, and then use it to drive away from the city when there is a chance in the future. There is a community ahead. There is an underground garage in the community, which can not only hide the armored vehicle, but also allow Lin Qi to take a short rest, so he turned the steering wheel and went in. Not long after entering the underground garage, the sound of a drone hovering in the sky came. It only searched for a while nearby and left quickly after not finding any trace of the armored vehicle. After the armored vehicle entered the garage, Lin Qi slowed down and went to the deepest part of the garage, finding an empty space and stopped. Brother Lin, you drove away all the armored vehicles of the Federation. You are so amazing. At this time, Zhao Tuanshuan's face was full of excitement. She couldn't sit still in the car and kept studying the instruments on the armored vehicle. In addition to the communicator, the weapons in the car are even more eye-catching. She has taken down a rifle and fiddled with it lovingly. Be careful not to fire accidentally. We haven't played with this thing before. Lin Qi quickly avoided the muzzle of the gun. He didn't want to feel the incredible chance. After getting off the car, he opened the back door of the armored vehicle and counted the things inside bit by bit. There were 2 rifles, 4 pistols, 2 boxes of bullets, a box of grenades, a box of special animal repellent powder, and 2 tactical backpacks. Firearms are the ultimate pursuit of every man after all. Feeling the heavy and cold-killing weapon in his hand, Lin Qi unconsciously became excited and wanted to try the weapon in his hand immediately to kill the zombies. But he quickly suppressed the excitement in his heart. These guns can be said to be his trump cards. They must not be used unless it is a critical moment. In the doomsday, a bullet may save his life. Lin Qi is reluctant to waste it on ordinary zombies. Then he took off the car cover of a nearby off-road vehicle and covered the armored vehicle completely to prevent someone from coming in and discovering this secret. After the busy work was done, it was dark. The originally quiet city was shrouded in darkness, and the unknown danger came again. Knowing that there was still a threat of mutant rats in the city, Lin Qi did not dare to travel at night and had to live in this community temporarily. The 2 walked up the stairs of the underground garage. During the process, they encountered several zombies in the corridor, but they were easily dealt with. When they reached the 6th floor, they chose a room with a wide view to live in. This room has a large French window, which can clearly see the outside, but the whole city is dark, and only the central camp in the distance is on the warning light. The arrangements in the past few days have opened up a certain range of safe areas in the city center. In addition to rescuing survivors, a safe camp has also been established in the 32 districts, slowly radiating to the surrounding areas of the city. This method, as long as it spreads steadily, will not take long to clean up the entire city and restore the environment for human survival. The end of the world does not seem to be as terrible as imagined. Brother Lin, I found some snacks, eat some to fill your stomach. The 2 did not bring any food this time, and there were no supplies in this residence, only some snacks, but enough for 1 meal. Okay, you put it here. Lin Qi was still fiddling with a gun in his hand. This rifle was equipped with an infrared sight, which could see the situation in the central camp area through the darkness in front of him. He couldn't let go of it for a while, and kept observing the surrounding environment. What's so fun about guns? Zhao Tuanxuan pouted, his face full of dissatisfaction, and he crossed his hands in front of his chest, raising them a little higher. Chapter 27 Trying to use a gun. Lin Qi had been observing for nearly an hour before he figured out the approximate scope of the central camp. There were also strict sentries around the camp at night to strictly guard the surrounding safety. It's time to go to bed. Zhao Tuanxuan couldn't help urging again. She had already made the bed and the quilt was warm. Wait a little longer, I'll see if there are many zombies nearby. Lin Qi found another excuse and zoomed in the scope to check the situation near the community. After this look, he really found zombies wandering around, wandering aimlessly on the streets. After the night fell, the range of zombie activities was even larger. Any slight movement could arouse their vigilance. Therefore, at night, they would appear in unexpected places due to various factors. Humph. If you don't sleep, I'll sleep by myself. Don't think about drinking fresh milk in the future. Zhao Tuanxuan looked at Lin Qi, who had no intention of getting up. He covered his head with a quilt in dissatisfaction, as if he was angry. Hearing this complaining voice, Lin Qi was stunned, and then he realized that something was wrong, so he quickly pulled up a corner of the bed curtain, put the rifle in the corner, and quickly climbed onto the bed. Let's go to sleep. The newly made bedsheets smelled a bit musty, but the warm quilt was filled with Zhao Tuanxuan's sweet body fragrance, and the smell she exuded was getting better and better. Lin Qi quickly took off his clothes, lifted a corner of the quilt, and carefully got into the quilt. The coolness on his body made Zhao Tuanxuan subconsciously curl up his body, with his back to Lin Qi. Until his body gradually warmed up, Lin Qi slowly moved forward and pressed his body against Zhao Tuanxuan. Tuanxuan, I seem to be a little thirsty. Lin Qi said carefully, testing Zhao Tuanxuan's reaction. Sure enough, after he finished speaking, his shoulders in front of him trembled slightly. Brother Lin, I let you drink all yesterday, and I didn't eat much today. There was a hint of grievance in his voice. Lin Qi then remembered that the 2 of them went out early this morning. Because they found an armored vehicle, they had not rested all the time. He absorbed a lot of nutrients and didn't feel hungry at all, but Zhao Tuanxuan was different. Her body is in the stage of gene awakening, and it needs a lot of nutrition to improve quickly. After working hard all day, how can she produce anything? Sorry, We will go back tomorrow and let you rest for a few more days. Lin Qi felt guilty. He almost treated Zhao Tuanxun as a backup energy supply station, forgetting that she was still a fragile girl. So he slowly reached out his hand, hugged Zhao Tuanxun's curled body, and comforted her slowly. When Zhao Tuanxun's mood stabilized, Lin Qi's hand moved to the right position again. Let me check if you are hungry. Lin Qi just checked with pure purpose, and did not do much. He fell asleep unconsciously. The next morning, Zhao Tuanxun moved Lin Qi's hand out and started to prepare breakfast. Although the ingredients were limited, she still made some very nutritious food. I took some wood from the cabinet in the house and made some porridge. Let's make do with it. Most of the food found in ordinary residence rooms, except for rice and flour, has already spoiled. Only those dry goods with a long shelf life and canned food can be stored for a long time. This is the reserve that everyone made before the doomsday. Lin Qi looked into the kitchen and saw that it was indeed filled with smoke. Those who didn't know thought there was a fire. Eat quickly, and then we'll leave here. For some reason, Lin Qi suddenly felt a little worried, fearing that the smoke would expose the location of the two. Perhaps it was because of the gun on his body that made people more nervous. After finishing breakfast quickly, without fresh milk, he always felt as painful as chewing wax. Lin Qi couldn't help but look at the fresh milk production area a few more times, and secretly vowed in his heart that he must let Zhao Tuanxun live a good life. Before going downstairs, Lin Qi deliberately found a bed sheet, wrapped up the two rifles and put them on his back, went down the stairs, and came to the underground garage. After checking the armored vehicle, the two carried the supplies and walked outside. Just as they arrived at the gate of the community, there was a sudden roar, the ground was shaking violently, and the fire shot up into the sky in the distance. It's the location of the old city yesterday. Zhao Tuanxun subconsciously supported Lin Qi. This kind of explosion wave was something the two had never felt before. It should be the federal rescue team cleaning up those mutant rats. Lin Qi explained with a little certainty. Since a large-scale rat hole has been discovered, it must be cleaned up in time, otherwise the rat infestation will become a disaster, and ordinary firepower coverage will not be able to solve it. This community is still some distance away from the old city, so Lin Qi is not afraid of being discovered by the rescue team, but the two still took some detours. After some twists and turns, they returned to the previous community. Entering from the gate of the community, Lin Qi deliberately took a look at the big hole in the corner of the wall. After seeing that it had not been dug again, he breathed a sigh of relief. After seeing the peculiarities of mutant rats, Lin Qi was afraid that such mutant rats would also appear here. After returning to the safe house, the two put their rifles in the bedroom and relaxed. Brother Lin, if this continues, the federal troops will sooner or later spread to this community. When they find out that we have guns, will they shoot us? Zhao Tuanxun looked worried. The firepower of the explosion just now attracted many survivors who were secretly observing in the city. When they returned to the community, they met several survivors rushing towards the direction of the explosion, and they didn't know what their purpose was. In her subconscious, she still believed that it was a serious violation of the law for the people to illegally carry guns, and this gun was taken from the Federal Rescue Armored Vehicle. It's the end of the world, they can't take care of themselves, who still has the gun in her hands? Lin Qi played with a rifle. Although he hadn't fired a shot yet, he had roughly studied the functions of this gun. Now his urgent idea was to find a zombie, use the gun to shoot a headshot, feel the charm of hot weapons, and activate the skills of firearms by the way. After pressing the silencer, Lin Qi couldn't wait any longer. He asked Zhao Tuanxun to prepare a richer lunch, and then he went downstairs with his rifle. There was no zombie in the community, but zombies could be seen wandering on the streets after leaving the community. Lin Qi used a slingshot to attract a few zombies, and brushed the conditions for the advancement of the slingshot skill. Basic slingshot has been advanced, slingshot mastery, no miss, 100% hit rate for 30-meter targets, 90% hit rate for 40-meter targets, 80% hit rate for 50-meter targets. Current skill can be advanced, advanced conditions. 1. Use the slingshot to hit the 30-meter target 100 times. 2. Obtain a gene crystal. Advanced conditions also require a gene crystal. Lin Qi looked at the skill introduction of the slingshot, and didn't know if it was worth the effort of a gene crystal after the advancement. But at this moment, he had no intention of studying it, because the zombie whose face was rotten from being beaten was already within 10 meters. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28: The Burden of Exercise. At a distance of 10 meters, Lin Qi's breathing was inevitably a little rapid, and his hands began to tremble. Fortunately, he had the archery skills to slowly calm his breathing rhythm. Bang! With a light sound, Lin Qi's body shook, and his body was tense, but the recoil did not deform his movements. The zombie's skull was completely opened, half of its head exploded, and it fell directly to the ground. I was clearly aiming at the mouth. In order not to miss the target, Lin Qi deliberately aimed a little lower, but he didn't expect that he would still be embarrassed. However, the light screen that appeared in front of him made him quickly put the matter behind him. Basic firearms use can be advanced. 1. Use firearms to kill 50 zombies. 2. Use firearms to kill 5 mutant creatures. In an instant, the enlightenment in his heart emerged again, and the parts that he didn't understand about firearms were instantly integrated. The performance parameters of the sniper rifle in his hand also appeared in Lin Qi's mind, and he also had a comprehensive understanding of other firearms. Is it just the basic use ability that's strong? The previous skills were all single tools, so Lin Qi was not surprised by the initial application of skills. After one shot, Lin Qi took off the safety and did not plan to use firearms again. Although he had a lot of bullets now, he had not encountered a real crisis. He used a bow and arrow to clean up the remaining zombies, and then returned to the third floor. Zhao Tuanxuan was still cooking in the kitchen, and Lin Qi did not disturb her. He went to the bedroom, turned on the computer, and studied the information on the internet. From a lot of information, it was learned that at the beginning of the Doomsday, the Federation began to establish safe zones. With strong infrastructure capabilities, a large number of safe zones were quickly established near major cities in just 2 months. And these safe zones were the first to connect to the satellite network and became people who knew the inside story in advance. They were also the elites selected by humans. The safe zone near the 32nd City District was an expansion of a large factory. At that time, a lot of surrounding land was requisitioned. How big it was, Lin Qi did not know. However, from the propaganda on the internet, it can be seen that the safe zone has been running and has taken in many survivors. But propaganda is just propaganda after all, and the real situation is still unknown. It was noon when the aroma of lunch came from the room. Zhao Tuanxuan poked her head in and smiled at Lin Qi. "Brother Lin, it's time to eat." She had been busy all morning making a sumptuous meal, and she felt very accomplished. "Okay, let's eat first." Lin Qi turned off the computer and followed him to the living room. The food on the table was very rich, but it was just a few items selected from the supplies, and Zhao Tuanxuan also opened a bottle of red wine, which was full of ritual. Lin Qi didn't like drinking very much, and even in another parallel world, he didn't have much interest in wine, but in the Doomsday, he felt that drinking some could at least relieve the pressure in his heart. "I made a little more, anyway, there are so many things, and the two of us can't finish them in a short time." Zhao Tuanxuan's appetite has increased a lot recently, perhaps because of the awakening of her genes, which allows her to eat a lot of food and store it in her body. Of course, the price is that she will feel unbalanced. "We probably won't be here for long, so we'll eat as much of this food as we can. From today on, I'm going to exercise well, so I might have to consume more food, and try to choose food with high nutritional value. Without a good body, it's impossible to survive in the Doomsday." When climbing the 18th floor before, Lin Qi felt his physical condition. Only by exercising well can he make good use of Tuanxuan's hard work. "Then I'll exercise with Brother Lin in the future." Zhao Tuanxuan clenched his fists, not flinching at all because he was a girl. The two chatted while feasting on the food on the table. It took almost an hour to finish the food. After eating and exercising for a few times, Lin Qi opened the door and prepared to train his physical fitness with the stairs as the goal. Climbing stairs is very physically demanding, and it can also exercise the muscles of the body in all directions. In the absence of equipment, it is the best way to exercise under safe conditions. Lin Qi took a deep breath and began his first exercise journey. After a while, Zhao Tuanxuan also followed. In order to exercise, she deliberately changed into loose clothes. However, She had not run for long before a painful expression appeared on her face. Finally, she had to squat on the ground, gasping for breath. What's wrong? Do you want to go back and rest for a while? Lin Qi only felt hot all over, as if the potential power in his body had been stimulated. He didn't feel tired at all. I'm not tired, but it hurts. I'll go back and get some cloth to wrap it up and try. Zhao Tuanchuan rubbed his chest. It was okay when he went up the stairs, but when he went down the stairs, the movement was too big, and the beatings were like hammering his chest. It was unbearable for a long time. Or I can help you wrap it up. It's not easy for you to do it yourself. When Lin Qi heard this, he was immediately anxious. How could he not help with such an important matter? So he took the initiative to help Zhao Tuanchuan to the door of the nearest room, unlocked the door, and entered this strange room. Lin Qi had been to this house before, but he didn't have much impression, but as long as someone had lived there, there must be something left. The two came to the bedroom and searched through the boxes and cabinets for something useful. Ordinary protective gear could not keep Zhao Tuanchuan stable at all, so a special method was needed. Therefore, the two found a bedsheet and cut it into strips, and began to discuss and imitate. Actually, there is no need to be so troublesome, just find a sports bra to wear. Zhao Tuanchuan looked at Lin Qi, who was busier than her, and was a little speechless for a while. However, the two searched the closet thoroughly, but could not find a sports bra. It seemed that the hostess of this family did not like sports, and the bra was also the smallest size. I remember it was shown on TV, and it should be able to be bound by wrapping it with strips of cloth, but I need to study this method. After tearing the bed sheet, Lin Qi placed the strips on the bed and imitated them, while thinking about how to tie it in his mind. Speaking of which, this is also a rare art. Brother Lin, I can do it myself. Zhao Tuanchuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was the first time she saw Lin Qi so serious. Your hands can't reach behind you. Besides, we are now companions who have been through thick and thin together. If I don't help you, who will? Take off your clothes and let me try. After repeated consideration, Lin Qi had an idea in his mind, so he couldn't help but urge him a few times. But it's daytime now. Zhao Tuanchuan blushed. At night, no one could see her, so being touched a few times was fine, and she could relieve some of the pressure in her heart. But if she was seen naked in the daytime, the shyness would be completely different. Then how about I close my eyes? Chapter 29. Do you want to take a shower? Lin Qi would never miss such an opportunity to promote their relationship. Just like the kind of friction that can't get in, as long as he can get an inch, he will never back down. Half pushed and half pushed, it was easy to undress, but when there was only one layer left, Zhao Tuanchuan hugged his shoulders with both hands and was unwilling to let go. Brother Lin, you said you would close your eyes. Perhaps his brain was confused. Zhao Tuanchuan took the initiative to give in and let Lin Qi close his eyes to help. Okay, I'll close my eyes. Lin Qi withdrew his eyes from the unfathomable ravine. Even though there was still a layer of cover, the proud chest almost made his eyes obsessed. So he tore off a piece of bedsheet and covered his eyes. Come on, this is my idea. Tighten it from the waist, then wrap it a few times, then pass it up from the shoulders, tie a cross on the body, and it should be fixed. Lin Qi was surprised to find that the density of the bedsheet was not enough. Through the tiny gap in the cloth, although it was a little blurry, he could still see it clearly. That seems to be possible. Zhao Tuanchuan's mind reacted for a moment, and she roughly understood Lin Qi's idea. She put her hands behind her back to untie the last bit of restraint, and the tight underwear flew directly. She seemed to be relieved, and a relaxed expression appeared on her face. Start wrapping around the waist. Lin Qi pulled the bedsheet closer and slowly approached. When it touched Zhao Tuanchuan's waist, one of his small hands took the bedsheet and slowly turned it in circles. After 3 circles, it was completely fixed. Actually, I can do it myself. Zhao Tuanchuan muttered softly, and she still needed her help to guide. Moreover, when wrapping in the wrong direction, Lin Qi's hand would inevitably touch a little. This kind of stimulation made her body tremble involuntarily. I want to help you. Lin Qi no longer concealed his purpose. His hands moved quickly, always slightly touching Zhao Tuanchuan's skin, drawing a beautiful arc. Her appearance is an extremely rare teardrop shape, and it is a large teardrop. There is no shape change at all, full and round. After wrapping it twice, it was basically fixed, and Lin Qi took off the cloth strips on his eyes. How about it? Try jumping. The color of the bedsheet is colorful, and when it is wrapped around Zhao Tuanchuan, it does not look ugly, but has a unique charm, especially with two arms exposed and a tightened belly, which is more prominent. It really doesn't shake anymore. Zhao Tuanchuan tried to jump twice, and there was only a slight shaking feeling, which was much better than before, and there was no sense of encumbrance at all. Okay, let's continue to exercise. Lin Qi reluctantly withdrew his gaze. After Zhao Tuanchuan put on the coat, her body was almost tightened and no longer affected her movements. Going up and down the 18th floor, Lin Qi felt his breathing getting more and more rapid after just a few times. On the other hand, although Zhao Tuanchuan did not exercise as much as Lin Qi, her breathing was very smooth. Except for some sweat on her face, she did not show any fatigue at all. And as the amount of exercise increased, a wave of heat gradually emerged from her body, and her breath became deeper and deeper. Why don't you look tired at all? Unconsciously, Zhao Tuanchuan has surpassed Lin Qi. Her physical fitness has surpassed that of an average man. I don't know. I just feel my body is warm, as if I am full of strength. Zhao Tuanchuan ran on the spot, seemingly unwilling to stop. She wiped the sweat off her face, with a hint of excitement in her eyes. This situation is a bit difficult to talk about. She couldn't tell Lin Qi that she was digesting the energy in her body. It should be the effect of genetic evolution. Lin Qi's eyes were filled with envy. Apart from the golden finger, he did not feel the blessing of genetic awakening at all. It seemed that this body had not yet reached the awakening moment. Brother Lin is much better than me. You shoot arrows so accurately without even using arrows. Ordinary people can't do it at all. Zhao Tuanchuan subconsciously thought that Lin Qi's ability to shoot arrows was the result of genetic evolution, but she could never think of which aspect of the gene was the power. Yes, why should I envy others? Maybe it won't be long before I can awaken my genetic abilities. In the information seen on the Federal Network, there are examples of genetic awakening. Some people awakened their abilities at the beginning of the doomsday, while others have just awakened. Although I am a little late, I can also awaken smoothly as long as I find the method of using genetic crystals. After a rest, when Lin Qi was about to continue training, he suddenly saw snowflakes falling outside. In just a moment, the window was already white. It started snowing so early. Zhao Tuanchuan came to the window with a surprised look on his face, looking at the heavy snow outside. In just a moment, the ground was already white. The temperature has dropped sharply in the past few days, but it is still early in winter. No one expected that the heavy snow would come so early. This seems to be adding insult to injury for humans. For a while, both of them lost interest in training. They stood in front of the window and looked at the white outside, and they were silent for a long time. The snow fell over a large area and lasted for a long time. It was not until the third day that the sky cleared up. During these 3 days, the two stayed in the residential building in the community, and were limited to the stairs in the corridor. Fortunately, they had enough food, so they didn't feel hungry and cold. But since Zhao Tuanchuan wrapped the bed sheet, she didn't untie it for the past few days. As a result, Lin Qi couldn't even put his hand in when he slept. It's my own fault. After exercising that day, Lin Qi sat on the steps and smoked a cigarette, feeling extremely annoyed. Although he could still drink a glass of fresh milk every morning, he could only satisfy his stomach, not his tongue. We have to think of a way. Lin Qi wiped the sweat from his forehead and suddenly thought of a brilliant idea. So he got up and returned to the room regardless of his fatigue. Zhao Tuanchuan was preparing food for lunch. In the past few days, she changed her cooking methods and her cooking skills became more and more exquisite. Lin Qi felt that he had gained some weight. Tuanchuan, do you want to take a hot bath? Lin Qi stood at the door of the kitchen, watching Zhao Tuanchuan busy. Thinking that neither of them had taken a hot bath during this period of time, she must be more uncomfortable than him. Take a hot shower? Where can I get hot water? Although there was some purified water in the room, it was too extravagant to use it for a shower. It's snowing outside, isn't it? I'm going to get some clean snow and boil some hot water with gas. If it was a few days ago, Lin would not be willing to waste it like this, but for his own happiness, it was necessary to do so. Is that so? I'll help you later. When Zhao Tuanchuan heard that she could take a shower, she couldn't help but smile. Girls love cleanliness after all. She sweated several times during the past few days of exercising with Lin Qi, and she felt stinky. Therefore, when she went to bed at night, she subconsciously kept a certain distance from Lin Qi. The two of them quickly finished lunch, carrying 2 buckets, and walked downstairs. The community was covered with a thick layer of snow. When you stepped on it, it almost submerged your knees. In Lin Qi's impression, it was rare to encounter such heavy snow, and this situation would only occur in the cold winter in the north. With such heavy snow, I'm afraid the zombies are also frozen. Lin Qi was curious and asked Zhao Tuanchuan to collect snow at the door. He walked in the snow with difficulty and headed towards the entrance of the community. The street was wide, but a snowman covered by heavy snow could be vaguely seen in the distance. However, the snowman was still slowly moving, leaving a clear footprint behind him. They are not dead yet. After 3 days of heavy snow, the temperature dropped to several degrees below zero. If an ordinary person was frozen outside for 3 days, he would have become an ice sculpture. However, zombies are creatures that have no heat in their bodies. How can they still move? It is indeed unreasonable. In order to find out the situation of this zombie, Lin Qi quickly chased after it, pulled out a dagger and poked the zombie's head. A stream of black liquid slowly seeped out of the wound. In such extremely cold weather, it was not frozen. However, the next second, the zombie fell to the ground, and the black blood that flowed out slowly solidified at a speed visible to the naked eye. What's the principle behind this? Lin Qi was a little skeptical, so he squatted down and studied it carefully, even using a dagger to completely pry open the zombie's skull. After some observation, he discovered that there was a special membrane in the zombie's skull, and it was this membrane that allowed a brain to maintain a certain degree of activity. Chapter 30 Opening the Gene Lock. The second time dissecting a zombie, Lin Qi was very familiar with it, and he didn't feel disgusted at all. After wiping the blood off the dagger, Lin Qi quickly returned to the community, and Zhao Tuanchuan had already gone up and down the stairs twice to collect a lot of snow. The two of them were busy for a long time, and finally filled a large basin with snow and prepared a largest bucket pot. In order to have enough snow, Lin Qi even brought all the basins from the neighboring residence. I'll move the gas stove to the bathroom, you burn it first, and I'll get some more snow. After a basin of snow melts, it's good to have 1/3 of water. If you want to fill the bathtub, the snow you need can almost make a snowman, so Lin Qi ran back and forth several times before collecting enough snow. And he only took the top layer of snow, which was relatively clean. The gas stove was fully turned on, and the snow in the pot was slowly melting at a speed visible to the naked eye. The heat emitted gradually made the small bathroom warm. It's so slow, how long will it take us to finish boiling? Zhao Tuanchuan was bored and added snow to the pot. It was already an hour later when she boiled a pot of warm water, which was not enough for a bath. It's not that easy, but it's worth it to be able to take a hot bath. I'll boil 2 more pots and you can take a bath first. Lin Qi knew that haste makes waste, and if he wanted to make his brothers happy, he had to pay for it. It wasn't until the sky gradually darkened that the bathtub was filled with hot water, and the water in the pot gradually boiled. Tuanchuan, you take a bath first, I'll boil some more hot water. Lin Qi pretended to be busy and urged Zhao Tuanchuan. Only when she took off her clothes first could he take advantage of the opportunity, otherwise there would be no chance later. Zhao Tuanchuan was a little embarrassed. The two of them were in the same room. If she took a bath, wouldn't Lin Qi see her cleanly? But she was embarrassed to refuse. After all, Lin Qi was her savior. Brother Lin, do you think the gas tank will explode? In panic, she spoke without thinking. What bad luck are you talking about? If this really explodes, we will both die here. After changing the subject, Zhao Tuanchuan showed a trace of relief on her face. In fact, she had long thought of such a day. When she was most helpless, she got Lin Qi's help and felt a sense of belonging in her heart. In the doomsday, no one knows whether they will encounter a life and death crisis tomorrow. How ridiculous it is to be reserved about oneself. Just like there are so many supplies in the room, the two of them only picked the best to eat, just wanting to enjoy more. So she turned her back and took off her clothes one by one. When only the entangled bed sheet was left, she blushed and said shyly, "Brother Lin, please help me untie it, I can't reach it." The belt around the waist was very obvious, but at this moment Zhao Tuanchuan looked like she couldn't reach it, and asked Lin Qi for help in a gentle voice. The person who tied the bell should be the one to untie it, right? Lin Qi was slightly excited, and even ignored the fire, and quickly stepped forward to help. After pulling off the bed sheet, the baby who had been tightly bound for 3 days finally reappeared. Although Zhao Tuanchuan had her back to Lin Qi, The scale of the bath was so large that her silhouette alone could tell it was extraordinary. She lifted her jade feet and slowly stepped into the bathtub, immersing her entire body in the hot water. Her body blushed at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Let me add some hot water for you." Lin Qi came to the front of the bathtub under the pretext of adding water. Looking at the girl in the water from such a close distance, her skin seemed to emit a faint fluorescence, like a carved jade. Being stared at like this, Zhao Tuanchuan's face became even more shy, her legs curled up in front of her, and she lowered her head and dared not look. Fortunately, the bathroom was dim at the moment, and only the weak firelight could make people barely see clearly, so as not to show the blush on her face. A pot of hot water was poured in, and the mist slowly rose, making it even more hazy. "Brother Lin, why don't you take a bath together?" Zhao Tuanchuan didn't know how she said this, and her voice was so small that she could hardly hear it. Suddenly, there was a sound of water, and when she turned around, she saw that Lin Qi had already entered the water. Lin Qi never thought that he could take off all his clothes so quickly. When he entered the bath, the small bath could just accommodate 2 people. If they didn't have to be reserved, they would just fit together. "Let me wash you." Looking at the smooth jade-like clean back in front of him, Lin Qi's blood kept flowing down, and he picked up the bath towel and gently wiped it. Oh, it's all muddy. At this point, the meat was already in the pot, and Lin Qi was not so anxious, immersed in the fun of bathing. "Brother Lin, how can there be mud on my body?" Being teased like this, Zhao Tuanchuan also relaxed, and couldn't help punching Lin Qi's leg. When his body relaxed, he slowly leaned into Lin Qi's arms. While the water was hot, Lin Qi rubbed Zhao Tuanchuan in all directions. Naturally, his hands were not so disciplined, and he couldn't help but gesture a few times where he should touch. "Why do you only wash here?" Zhao Tuanchuan couldn't stand the itch, and covered the vital parts to prevent Lin Qi from moving around. After letting go completely, he didn't feel shy anymore. And when showing her body to the other party, there was a trace of pride in her heart. "Okay, it's your turn to rub my back." Lin Qi stopped his hand, turned his back, and enjoyed the tenderness of the girl. They waited until the water in the bathtub was no longer warm, then they took towels to dry their bodies and returned to the bedroom. They crawled into the bed in the dark, and their bodies were already entangled together. Zhao Tuanchuan suddenly reacted and clamped her legs tightly. "Brother Lin, what if you get pregnant? We can't support it." Zhao Tuanchuan's eyes showed a trace of fear. She didn't dare to imagine how terrible it would be if she had a child in the doomsday. The 2 zombie babies she met in the old city before were still vivid in her mind. "I've prepared it a long time ago, don't worry." Lin Qi took out a box of Akamoto 001 from the drawer beside the bed. This was the supplies he had in that convenience store, and basically all the residents in this building could find some, so there was no shortage. The 2 of them were relieved of their burdens and began to communicate. Zhao Tuanchuan frowned. After her physical condition improved, she had become immune to pain, but she still found it difficult to adapt to the pain from the heart. Suddenly, her whole body was shocked, and she subconsciously hugged Lin Qi's chest tightly. "Detected that the other party has a gene lock in his body, do you want to try to open it?" Lin Qi suddenly saw an illusory light curtain in front of him. Is this even possible? He immediately silently chanted open and tried to open Zhao Tuanchuan's gene lock. Unlocking progress increased by 1/10000. Unlocking failed. Unlocking progress increased by 2/10000. Right square bracket. Chapter 31. How could one be so depraved? Not deep enough and not meeting the conditions. In another parallel world, Lin Qi was very casual and had picked all kinds of flowers, but this was the first time he had encountered such a special one. Although his body was young and had enough capital, it had not been tempered for a long time and seemed to be unable to withstand it. So at the end, the progress was only 88 out of 10,000, a very auspicious number. It was snowing outside again. Without heating and air conditioning in the house, the temperature dropped sharply, but both of them had a layer of dense sweat all over their bodies. Fortunately, they had just taken a shower and did not feel uncomfortable. Lockpicking progress increased by 89/10000. The next day, Lin Qi got up from the bed near noon. He took a look at the progress that had reached more than 500 and felt that he seemed to be a hero who was working hard in the late stage. He hurriedly prepared some breakfast in the kitchen, brought it to the bedside, and after the 2 of them had a sweet meal, Lin Qi went back to bed. In this icy and snowy environment, even zombies could hardly move. Those mutant creatures were probably curled up in the corner and unwilling to go out. Why should he ask for trouble? The most urgent task is to open Zhao Tuanchuan's gene lock first to see what kind of changes will occur. The recovery ability of the gene awakener is very strong. At the end of last night, after only sleeping for a few hours, he has recovered as before. 556, 557. In the afternoon, Zhao Tuanchuan came out of the bedroom with a satisfied face to prepare dinner. The tinkling sound in the kitchen came from time to time with pleasant accompaniment. On the other hand, Lin Qi stood in front of the window smoking a cigarette. The cold wind could not erode his will at all. Flicking the cigarette butt away, Lin Qi made a decision in his heart. No. I must go out to hunt mutant creatures tomorrow. I also want to awaken my genetic ability. Early the next morning, Zhao Tuanchuan took the initiative to activate Lin Qi. She was a novice and had been looking forward to Lin Qi's initiative last night. But she stayed up half the night and fell asleep. She didn't get what she wanted, but she was more eager in her heart. 1025, 1026. In the evening, Lin Qi stood in front of the balcony again, looking deep into the distance, his eyes becoming more and more determined. Lin Qi, how can you be so depraved? You must go out and hunt mutant beasts tomorrow. At the very least, you must hunt zombies to improve your strength. And you must not continue to degenerate. After drinking fresh milk that night, Lin Qi regained his vigor. 1883, 1884. At noon the next day, after lunch, Zhao Tuanchuan sat on the sofa and looked at Lin Qi with seductive eyes. Husband. Zhao Tuanchuan had already adapted to the changed address, but the address was obviously emphasized, and the intention could not be more obvious. Tuanchuan, you have to be more restrained. I plan to go out and see what changes are outside. This morning's rare rest made Lin Qi feel that his physical strength had recovered a lot. Instead of feeling the physical strength increase after many days of exercise, he was much weaker. But it's so cold outside, there's not even a person around, so don't go out. Although the snow has stopped these days and the temperature has risen a bit, it's still quiet outside. There are no survivors at all, and even the federal rescue in the central camp has not been active. Zhao Tuanchuan was worried. Although it was the end of the world, it was still safe to live here. There was no need to go out and take risks. Ahem, the main reason is that our Akamato has run out. I have to go out to find some supplies. Lin Qi rarely found an excuse. Although he could find it in the rooms on other floors, it was his only excuse at the moment. Then husband, go early and come back early. I'll find you a thick coat. Zhao Tuanchuan changed his dissuasion and quickly got up to look for it in the bedroom. After a while, he took out a down coat and helped Lin Qi put it on. When he opened the door, a cold air rushed in, almost making Lin Qi lose the confidence to go out. But the man's self-esteem still made him stand up. This time, Lin Qi went out with a slingshot, a wooden bow, a pistol, a rifle scope, 3 magazines, 30 arrows, and a dagger. As for the gun, it was already sluggish. The snow in the community was another layer higher, but the weather was very good today. It was a rare sunny day, and there was no wind. After walking through the snow pile to the entrance of the community with difficulty, Lin Qi regretted his idea more and more when he saw that the snow outside had covered the cars on the roadside like a pile of graves. Forget it, I'm out now, I can't go back empty-handed. Walking through the snow was very physically demanding, so Lin Qi could only walk slowly and walk along the sidewalk towards the corner convenience store where the two of them had temporarily stayed. His purpose was not the Durex in the convenience store, but it was the closest to the central street, and he could check the situation of the central camp by the way. It wasn't long before he saw a lot of footprints on the road, and some places had even been crushed to the ground. It seems that someone has come out. Several zombies fell in the snow in the distance. After being killed, their bodies were completely frozen, and some had been buried by the heavy snow. After passing a few streets, Lin Qi could feel his legs gradually numb, but fortunately he finally arrived near the central street. The roller shutter door of the convenience store on the roadside was damaged and opened more than half a meter high. There were also signs of trampling on the snow at the door, proving that someone had been here. However, Lin Qi still held on to a glimmer of hope, opened the shutter door, and entered the convenience store. Looking at it, there was a layer of snow on the ground. The things in the store had basically been emptied, and the ground was full of garbage. It seems that it was a gang crime. Even the chewing gum was taken away. The things on the table counter had been completely emptied, not even a box was left. From this point of view, there would be no survivors upstairs. Lin Qi pulled up the shuttered door and slowly went up to the second floor. This place where he used to live was indeed a mess. Through the window, you can see the central street in the distance, but the black marks on the street are very obvious, and there are several zombies walking slowly in the ruts. Just when Lin Qi was surprised that the central street was still open to traffic at this time, a troop carrier gradually drove into his field of vision. When approaching the zombies, it did not slow down at all and pressed directly on them. Judging from the tire tracks on the road, a lot of cars have passed by after the snow stopped. The direction of this road is the isolation and safety zone outside the east of the city. From the beginning, the survivors were allowed to walk there, but due to the bad weather at this time, military vehicles were used for transportation. Chapter 32 Gene Crystallization. After chopping open the wardrobe and lighting a fire upstairs, Lin Qi warmed up briefly, then went downstairs and headed towards the central street. It was hard to find survivors in the city, but there were always survivors wandering around the central street. Some wanted federal rescue and help and went to the isolated safe zone, while others had other purposes. Following the footsteps of his predecessors, Lin Qi felt a lot more relaxed than before. When he arrived at a hotel, the snow cleared at the door made Lin Qi stop. At this time, to judge whether there was anyone in the building, just look at the traces of snow in front of the door. However, as he kept getting closer, no one came out of the hotel, and there was not even a guard. Did everyone here leave? Lin Qi thought of the troop carrier he had just seen, and maybe it was the people in this hotel who were being taken away, but he still opened the iron gate of the hotel and walked inside. No, the temperature here is a little abnormal. As soon as he entered the lobby, Lin Qi felt that the temperature here was several degrees higher than outside, and even had a warm feeling. He became alert and slowly pulled out the pistol from his waist and hid it in his sleeve. This hotel is one size larger than Zhao Tuanchuan's, but it is also an isolation point, with iron bars installed at the door. Is anyone there? Lin Qi shouted, standing next to the pillar in the lobby, covering half of his body. After a few seconds, he didn't hear any response, so he leaned out and searched inside. Passing through the front hall, the snow in the backyard had been cleared to create a passage leading directly to the guest room area at the back. Is anyone there? Lin Qi asked again, but still got no response. After walking a few steps forward, a familiar smell made Lin Qi frown. It was a fresh smell of blood, mixed with a strange stench. Pushing open the door of the guest room building, the stench of blood became stronger and stronger, and the temperature here was even higher than that in the lobby in front. Lin Qi touched the radiator in the corner of the wall and found that it was actually a little warm. Is there a boiler burning here? This kind of large hotel usually has a separate heating system. Lin Qi then noticed that the snow in a corner of the backyard had melted long ago. The stairs seemed to be covered with red carpet, extending to the corner and leading to the other side of the corridor, but as Lin Qi slowly approached, he could see that it was not a carpet at all, but a ground stained with blood. The blood stains were dense, as if they were footprints left by some animal, which made Lin Qi subconsciously think of the mutant rats he had seen a few days ago. Why are there such things everywhere? In fact, if you want to be serious, the number of rats in a city is far more than the number of humans in the city. They just hide in sewers or hidden places all the time, and rarely appear during the day. Seeing these dense footprints, Lin Qi subconsciously wanted to leave here. After all, as he saw a few days ago, mutant rats would come out to look for food during the day. Just as Lin Qi took a step back and was about to leave this dangerous place, there was a sound suddenly from the corner of the stairs, and a gray head poked out. Sure enough, a fat mutant rat slowly climbed down the stairs. Its body, not counting the tail, actually occupied 3 steps. When the scarlet eyes saw Lin Qi, they suddenly showed a crazy look, squeaked in their mouths, and rushed up directly. Fuck. If it was before the end of the world, no matter how big the rat was, it would flee in panic after seeing humans. That was the natural crushing of large creatures over small creatures. But this guy was in a special situation. His fear of humans had disappeared, and he had already regarded Lin Qi as his prey. Lin Qi quickly took back his pistol, grabbed the wooden bow on his back, and shot at it. The mutant rat just pounced on it, and the arrow broke through the air. It instantly pierced its head and rolled to the ground. This rat is bigger than a cat. The fur of this mutant rat was very smooth, and its long tail was like a steel needle, even with a metallic reflective luster. It struggled on the ground for a few times, and then stood still, but the tail was still rolling. Lin Qi stepped forward and quickly came to the nearest room with the arrow, closed the door, took out the dagger and began to dissect. After a series of operations, the entire mutant rat was dismembered into pieces, and even the head was cut in half, but the existence of the evolution crystal was still not found. In the posts I read before, there are evolution crystals in the brains of mutant rats, but the probability is less than 1%. Could it be that such a big mutant rat is just an ordinary kid? Lin Qi was not disappointed. Even if he found evolution crystals in the brain of this mutant rat, he would not dare to use them. After all, he felt psychologically resistant and always felt that this creature was unclean. Walking out of the door again, Lin Qi was more alert. Since a mutant rat could crawl down from upstairs, it proved that there were other similar creatures. I'm afraid that all the survivors in this hotel were attacked by the mutant rats. No wonder it was silent. Carefully going up to the second floor, the blood on the stairs felt sticky and stringy under his feet, which made people very uncomfortable. Lin Qi slowed down his pace and dared not make a sound. When he came to the corridor on the second floor, the bloody smell became stronger, accompanied by the stench of the mutant rats. Under the heating, it seemed as if he had fallen into a cesspool. Looking into the eyes, there were several bloody skeletons lying in the corridor, and there were several small mice drilling around on them, gnawing on the residue on them. Sensing the breath of a stranger, the little mice immediately stood up alertly, staring at the newcomer with a pair of scarlet eyes, as if to drive him away. These little mice are of normal size, but they are still different from ordinary mice, giving people a very aggressive feeling. Squeak! Squeak! A mouse cry. With a chain reaction, the remaining mice screamed wildly, even throwing away the meat in their mouths, and rushed towards Lin Qi quickly. There are only a dozen of them, it's not a big problem. As Lin Qi used the bow and arrow more and more times, his understanding of this cold weapon became more and more profound. His right hand quickly drew the arrow, and the action of shooting the arrow was almost coherent. Swish, swish, swish. Arrows flew out one after another, and those mutant mice were nailed to the ground before they got within 3 meters of Lin Qi, squeaking and screaming. The vitality is really tenacious. Even if some mutant mice were shot through the head, they were not completely dead for a while, and they could still struggle a few times. After retrieving the arrow, Lin Qi had no interest in dissecting the small mutant rats until he found a different one among the corpses. It was a mutant rat with all its hair gone. It was not as big as the one in the stairs before, but it was obviously mutated in a special way. Its limbs had tight muscles, like an elite rat that had been trained. Its head was the size of a fist. When Lin Qi pulled out the arrow, he could clearly see a red crystal in its skull. Is this the gene crystal? He picked out the gene crystal, which was covered with blood vessel-like filaments. This gene crystal was only the size of a soybean, like a ruby, giving people an inexplicable attraction. Lin Qi crushed it with his foot to remove the remaining mucus and filaments on it, and then picked it up and examined it carefully. Chapter 33 Meeting the Federation Team. In several rooms on the second floor, the doors were bitten into pieces by mutant rats, and some were even open. When Lin Qi pushed open the door, the miserable scene inside the room was too much to look at. The bed sheets were stained with blood and torn into pieces by mutant rats. The floor was full of broken bones and blood. Several mutant rats were lying on the broken bones and gnawing at the remaining meat. The movement outside just now did not attract their attention at all. However, at such a close distance, these mutant rats raised their heads one after another, and their scarlet eyes locked on Lin Qi. 5? No, there are more inside. He quickly put his arrows on and shot again. Before the mutant rats in the room could react, they were nailed to the ground one by one. At such a close distance, Lin Qi could almost hit the target every time. In the first stage of archery, Lin Qi had never missed a target within 10 meters. 5 mutant rats were soon nailed to the ground, and then 3 more rushed out from the corner of the room, but they were still not spared. It's just that these mutant rats did not have the existence of strange characteristics and did not have the ability to contain gene crystals. Is the archery skill going to be upgraded soon? Lin Qi took a look at the requirements for the upgrade of archery. He only needed to kill a dozen zombies to complete the requirements of the first stage, which made him even more excited. It was very difficult to find zombies in such a snowy day. Apart from the zombies that were frozen in the ice and snow and slowly crawling, most of the rest were hidden in the buildings. After all, the virus could sense changes in the outside world. It was rare to find a nest of mutant rats. Even if there was a little danger, Lin Qi had to take the opportunity to fill the requirements of archery. He searched slowly from room to room and encountered at least a few mutant rats, but he never encountered the kind of strong rats that lost their hair. When Lin Qi reached the third floor, his archery skill had reached the requirements for the upgrade, and a new light screen appeared in front of him. Basic archery upgrade, advanced archery, no false strike. 100% hit rate for a fixed targets within the range, special skill, spiral arrow, advanced to advanced archery, advanced conditions. 1. Kill 500 mutant creatures with bows and arrows. 2. Consume 31st level gene crystals. High-level archery is the same as high-level spearmanship. 2 entries appeared, and the hit rate is 100%. As long as it is within the range, Lin Qi can accurately hit the target. At this moment, the perception of archery surged into his mind. Lin Qi's fingers twitched slightly, and he wanted to try one shot. After checking the spoils in the room, the heads of several mutant rats were all dug open. This time he was very lucky and got 2 identical gene crystals. 3, and the advanced conditions of spearmanship are also half completed. After having a bow and arrow, the gun is rarely used, but Lin Qi does not want to give up the melee skills. After all, if you don't use the gun head, you can just find a stick and it will be an indestructible spear. Going up to the 4th floor, there must be a large number of mutant rats, but Lin Qi no longer has the idea of continuing to search. According to the situation in the hotel, it should be at night when it was attacked by mutant rats. After the rat tide devoured the survivors here, most of them have returned to the sewer, leaving only a small number of them in the building. Only a dozen of his arrows were intact. If he encountered a large number of mutant rats again, he might not be able to cope with them. After a brief thought, Lin Qi decisively chose to retreat downstairs and planned to leave the hotel. Just as he returned to the 1st floor, footsteps suddenly came from outside. It seemed that there were a lot of people, and several red dots moved back and forth, instantly locking onto Lin Qi. Survivors. The voice came from the federal rescue team from the nearby central camp. I'm a survivor. Don't shoot. The first time he saw these people, Lin Qi recognized the familiar equipment and did not dare to resist. After all, although the federal rescue team was rescuing survivors, if someone dared to take the opportunity to cause trouble, the guns in their hands were not only used to kill zombies. I'm the captain of the rescue team. What happened here? Where are the other survivors? An elite soldier entered the floor and saw the deep bloodstains on the stairs. His face suddenly changed. A few days ago, the hotel was cleaned up by the rescue team of the central camp and used as a temporary place to accommodate the survivors. Every day, the transport vehicles transported the survivors around to the isolated safety zone outside the city. Today, it was the turn of the survivors in this hotel. But when they stepped into the hotel, they noticed something was wrong. The survivors who had been guarding the lobby in the past were gone. After all, they had been informed that they would be transported today, so they should have been prepared long ago. I came from somewhere else. The survivors in this hotel were attacked by mutant rats and should all be dead. Lin Qi was nervous. He was carrying 2 pistols and a high-powered scope for a rifle. If he was discovered by the rescue team, he would not be able to explain it clearly. Fortunately, these people did not search him, but quickly dispersed and stood guard nearby. When they heard about the mutant rats, the rescue team was as if they were facing a great enemy. After all, the only setback they encountered in the city for so long was the hateful rats. These guys, we told you not to light the boiler, it will attract mutant rats, but I didn't expect them to listen. The captain complained a few words, but he didn't care about the death of these survivors. You 4, go upstairs and check if there are any survivors. After giving the order, he took out a cigarette from his pocket, took out one and threw it to Lin Qi. What's your name, kid? You dare to run around in the city with a wooden bow on your back. You are very brave. When he was not sure who Lin Qi was, he took out a cigarette to get close to him, which was also a move to relax others' vigilance. My name is Lin Qi. Lin Qi did not hide his name. He believed that these rescue teams would not attack honest civilians. After all, no matter how chaotic the doomsday is, The military discipline of the Federation is indispensable. At most it is aimed at rioters and hostile elements. Captain, there are a lot of mutant rat corpses upstairs. Do you want to take a look? At this time, a soldier ran down from upstairs, looking at Lin Qi with some surprise, especially taking a closer look at the wooden bow on his back. Did you kill the mutant rats upstairs? The soldier who was investigating on the first floor also dragged out a dissected mutant rat and threw it on the ground with a look of disgust. It was just a fluke. They must have just eaten people and returned to the sewer. Only a small number of them are left. Lin Qi took a deep breath of cigarette, and the smoke just blocked his face, making it impossible for the captain to look directly into his eyes. Come up and take a look. By the way, tell me about the situation when you first came. The captain went straight upstairs, but when he took a step, he called Lin Qi. When he came to the second floor, the captain saw the mutant rat corpses on the ground and the holes on the floor, and a trace of surprise appeared on his face. Don't tell me that you shot these mutant rats with arrows, and the arrows were stuck in the wall. Years of using guns allowed him to see that the holes on the floor and walls were not left by guns, but ordinary bows and arrows did not have such great power, let alone a crudely made wooden bow. At this moment, the captain became more and more suspicious. Lin Qi did not explain. He directly pulled out an arrow, drew the bow and shot the arrow in one go. With a whoosh, the arrow shot into the wall at the end of the corridor. The tail of the arrow trembled slightly and penetrated 3/4 of the wall. Chapter 34, Mutant Beasts in the Community. Oh my goodness. The arrow he shot just now seemed to have no arrowhead, right? Several soldiers came forward to check the arrows on the wall. After pulling them out with force, they looked at each other in surprise. The captain took the bow from Lin Qi's hand and tried to pull it. Although the poundage of this bow was large enough, the upper and lower ends were not symmetrical at all, and the arrow shot out would definitely deviate. You are a gene awakener, you actually have such ability. The only person who can use this kind of bow and be so powerful is the gene awakener who appeared after the doomsday. And it is a special existence. I guess so. I don't understand why there is such power. It should be what you said. Lin Qi took the wooden bow and did not deny the captain's guess. In his situation, he could only use gene awakening to cover it up. Let me introduce myself again. My name is Shi Chengguang, and I am the captain of this rescue team. They are all members of the team. There are 9 of us, including me. This time, we were ordered to cover the survivors in the hotel and go to the isolated safety zone in the east of the city. I didn't expect such a change to happen. Captain Shi felt that a special gene awakener could be won over. After all, many awakeners have joined the central camp to help build the camp or do some logistical work, and even some have been mixed into the organization. I came here at noon. When I entered this hotel, I found that everyone here was attacked by mutant rats, so I took advantage of some mutant rats being alone to see if I could get some gene crystals. The several mutant rats that were dissected have been discovered by the rescue team. They must have realized something, and they don't need to hide it. The probability of finding gene crystals in mutant rats is really too small, and they contain virus characteristics. If they are not specially treated, they cannot be taken at all. You have to be careful. Captain Shi couldn't help but remind him that the matter of evolution crystals has spread. Many survivors know about it and start trying to hunt mutant beasts to improve their strength. In addition to searching for survivors and hunting zombies, their team spent most of their time looking for mutants to improve their strength. However, after winter, most animals hid themselves, and sometimes it was difficult to meet one in a day. I know this. Lin Qi had not planned to take these 3 gene crystals from the beginning. After all, things taken from mutant organisms under unknown circumstances must be contaminated with viruses. At this time, gunshots suddenly came from upstairs. Several people looked at each other and rushed upstairs with their weapons. Lin Qi had not explored the 3rd floor and above, so the soldiers encountered several mutant rats after going up, but with the guns in their hands, they could easily shoot the remaining mutant rats. After checking the entire hotel, as expected, there was no survivor left. Where the mutant rat tide passes, there will be no survivors. Let's seal it up. A hotel building has been ravaged by mutant rats. The rooms are full of blood and bones. It is impossible to live in it. This hotel has been completely abandoned. You guys find out where the mutant rat came from and blow it up. Captain Shi gave another order, and then led a few people downstairs quickly. Soon everyone found the passage where the mutant rat came out. It crawled out of the ground from the sewer, and then split into two groups. One group went up the stairs, and the other group went directly into the room through the ventilation duct. With the help of the inside and outside, none of the survivors in the hotel escaped. After installing the time bomb, the rescue team quickly evacuated outside the hotel and prepared to leave. "Brother Lin, get in the car, we will take you to the central camp," Captain Qi invited. In his opinion, Lin Qi came to the central camp for the purpose of joining the camp. After he invited him, he could also arrange a suitable position for Lin Qi in the camp. "I'm afraid it's not possible now. I have teammates in the city. I must take her with me. If I go back late, I'm afraid she will be anxious. If there is a chance in the future, she will definitely come to you." Lin Qi smiled apologetically and thought of an excuse to refuse. "Is that so? When you come, tell me my name, Wolf Warriors, Shi Chengguang. Someone will notify me then." Captain Qi did not force it. There are already many Geno Awakeners in the central camp. They are not as precious as when the doomsday just came. Even if Lin Qi can come, he will not feel much disappointment. It's just a pity. There are more important tasks at the moment, so there is no need to waste time here. The armored vehicle drove out not far, and Captain Qi waved to Lin Qi, indicating to stay away from the hotel. After watching Lin Qi walk away, they activated the bomb. There was a roar, the ground trembled a few times, and a puff of smoke rose from the back of the hotel. "These people are pretty good," Lin Qi said to himself, turned around and walked back. What he saw from a distance before made him feel an inexplicable sense of alienation from the rescue team. After all, in the doomsday, ordinary people can only trust themselves. At least he should consider Zhao Tuanchuan. Her situation is really not suitable for joining any force. Fortunately, the harvest from this trip has far exceeded expectations. On the way back, Lin Qi was very fast. After crossing several streets, he had already seen the floors of the residential community. On the way, he met several survivors who were out searching for supplies. After the baptism of the doomsday, the survivors who stayed in the city now were all people with special ideas, and everyone maintained a certain degree of vigilance. The snow on the road was still there. The farther away from the central camp, the fewer traces on the road. When approaching the community, Lin Qi suddenly found several lines of footprints on the ground, which led to the neighborhood where he lived. For a moment, he became nervous, so he quickened his pace and ran towards the entrance of the community. A piece of open space in front of the community gate was trampled, and several footprints led all the way to the inside of the community, and they followed the traces when Lin Qi left. Don't let anything unexpected happen. Lin Qi quickly ran towards the building where he lived, and soon arrived in front of the apartment building following the footprints in the snow. But the scene in front of him made Lin Qi quickly take down his bow and arrow and be on guard. In front of the apartment building, there was a blood stain, and there were broken limbs on the ground, and intestines fell all over the ground, emitting a foul smell. What was strange was that the bodies on the ground had their internal organs emptied out, their heads had been broken open with a big hole, and their brains were dried up. There was no other movement except for the messy footprints and splattered blood. After observing for a while, Lin Qi slowly retreated to the front of the apartment building. When he was about to open the door and retreat into the apartment building, a yellow light suddenly flashed in his vision, jumping quickly on the tree, shaking off a few pieces of snow. Mutated beast. The moment he saw the yellow light, Lin Qi drew his bow and aimed, and shot an arrow. Swoosh! The arrow broke through the air and overlapped with a jumping yellow figure, but it flew past a body closely, shooting off a few hairs. The figure then stabilized his body, standing proudly on the tree branch, staring at Lin Qi with a pair of deep blue eyes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35: Killing the Mutant Cat. Cats. The most abundant thing in the city is stray cats and dogs. Even in winter, they can often be seen foraging for food. Although the Federation had captured a large number of stray cats and dogs a few months ago, there are always some that were missed. This big yellow cat is more than 2 meters long. If it weren't for the different face shape, Lin Qi almost thought it was a small tiger. The long cat tail slowly swept, scattering the snow on the branches. It raised its front paws to its mouth and licked them, slowly cleaning the blood on it. looking so elegant and free. This mutant cat is much weirder than the mutant dog that I met on the central street. Lin Qi slowly touched the pistol on his waist, but after thinking about it, he still replaced it with an arrow. The use of firearms is only the lowest level, and the use of bows and arrows is more handy. The pistol does not have a silencer. If the movement is too loud, it will attract the attention of people nearby. Meow. The mutant cat lowered its head and a low roar came from its throat. The hair on its body slowly exploded and fluffed up, and its body seemed to have doubled in size in an instant. Swoosh. Lin Qi shot an arrow again. The arrow turned into a residual image, passed through the mutant cat's body, and nailed on the tree trunk again. A few yellow hairs fell again. No. I missed. After 2 close encounters, Lin Qi finally noticed something wrong. At this moment, he watched the mutant cat's fluffy hair gradually close up, and its body just twisted slightly. His arrow hit, but it only passed through its hair, creating an illusion of a hit. Sorry, I bother you. Lin Qi stretched out his hand and pressed behind his back. The unit door opened, and he stepped back in, all in one go. Click. The iron door closed, and the mutant cat, who had a hint of playfulness in his eyes, suddenly widened his eyes and made a buzzing sound in his throat. A yellow shadow flashed, and a few snowflakes fell on the spot. Lin Qi rushed upstairs and ran to the 3rd floor in one go. Just as he reached out to touch the door, a yellow shadow flashed outside the window, the sound of glass breaking came from a distance, and the mutant cat's roar was clear. However, at the moment when the mutant cat jumped into the corridor, Lin Qi had already opened the door and dodged inside. In the room, Zhao Tuanxuan was hiding behind the sofa, holding a pistol and on guard. When she saw that it was Lin Qi who came in, she relaxed her guard. I heard a lot of noise outside. It seems that there are a lot of people. Zhao Tuanxuan ran forward and hugged Lin Qi, her eyes red. For her, this period of time can be called torture. It's okay, there is no one outside. Lin Qi comforted the woman in his arms, but the next second there was a heavy blow on the door, as if the sound of metal scratching continued to sound. What is that? Hearing this sound, it was as if something was scratching in the heart, which was extremely uncomfortable. It's a cat. Lin Qi comforted Zhao Tuanxuan and picked up the bow and arrow again. The 2 arrows just now did not work at all, and at the same time proved that this mutant cat was special, but Lin Qi already had a way to deal with it. After all, it is a mortal body. No matter how fast the reaction speed is, it can't be stronger than a bullet. The sound on the door was still there, and even the raised marks of the cat's claws hitting the door could be seen. As the mutant cat continued to attack, cracks appeared on the iron door. Its claws could already tear metal apart. Lin Qi looked back and forth between the rifle and the bow and arrow, and decisively chose the bow and arrow. Although the rifle was powerful, the kinetic energy of the bullet would be greatly reduced after penetrating the iron door, and when it hit the mutant cat, it would have almost no power. Even if it could injure it, it would not have much effect if it did not hit the vital part, but his arrows were special after all, and were far from being comparable to real bullets. He immediately took out a carbon arrow shaft, removed the arrowhead, and aimed the bow at the iron door. Spiral arrow. The fingers holding the arrow turned slightly half an arc, and the wooden bow made a creaking sound. Obviously it was already a little overwhelmed. But Lin Qi still felt unsafe, and then his eyes focused, and a small dragon hovered above the arrow. The dragon throws a throw and the world is broken. The special skills of the gun and the arrow are superimposed together, making the black carbon arrow shaft in his hand emit a faint golden light. When a claw mark appears on the iron door again, Lin Qi suddenly lets go. Hearing the sound of the bowstring tightening, a dragon breaks through the air. Boom! The solid iron door exploded instantly, the iron sheet rolled outward, and a big hole as thick as a bowl appeared. A shrill scream came, and looking through the hole, the mutant cat was nailed to the wall, the chest exploded and collapsed, and the arrow was still shaking violently. Putting down the bow and arrow, Lin Qi picked up the steel pipe and rushed out, not caring whether the cat was dead or not, and stabbed it into its mouth. After twisting back and forth several times, the struggling mutant cat gradually stopped moving. As the spear was drawn out, the illusory spear had cut open its head and picked out a red crystal. The gene crystal of the mutant cat is pure, like a ruby, with almost no impurities in it, and the size is like a peanut, more than 3 times larger than the gene crystal in the mutant mouse's brain. Lin Qi put the thing away as if he had found a treasure. With such a pure gene crystal, his awakening is just around the corner. Honey, This can't be a tiger. Zhao Tuanchuan looked at the big cat nailed to the wall in surprise. Half of its body was limp on the ground. It looked more than 2 meters long, and that's without counting the tail. It's really not wrong to call it a tiger. This is a mutant cat. It must be a special mutation. The size of the golden retriever before became very large. This is because it was dismembered by the rescue team leader, so it can't be seen. The two seem to be mutant beasts of the same level. Such a big cat must be very comfortable to pet. What a pity. Although Zhao Tuanchuan is not a cat lover, he felt uncomfortable when he thought that cats and dogs were pets of humans in the past, but after mutation, they hunted humans as prey at will. Go find a basin. Something on this cat might be useful. Lin Qi saw clearly how the cat's claws tore the iron door. If this material is used to make some weapons, it would be sharper than ordinary metal. But forget about the meat. He has no shortage of food now, but this soft fur must be stripped off so that he can keep warm when he goes out in the future. After thinking about it, Lin Qi found a rope and hung the cat up. The tip of the spear in his hand slowly cut along the hole in the chest and stripped off the fur bit by bit. The claws on the limbs, the cat's tail, the fangs, and even the whiskers like steel needles were all left by Lin Qi, leaving only the clean flesh. After stripping the fur, this mutant cat did not look very big, but the fluffy hair made its limbs look narrow and long, and it seemed to have some extra volume. It seems that we can't live here anymore. Several survivors died downstairs, and the bloody smell of mutant cats might attract other prey. Let's go to another community before it gets dark. After Lin Qi finished his work, he washed the blood off his hands. Thinking of his current situation, he couldn't help but feel a little worried. What if the bloody smell in the community attracted a large number of mutant rats in the middle of the night? There would be no way for him to escape upstairs. Chapter 36 Lin Qi's Genetic Awakening. The two quickly packed up some necessary supplies and went downstairs carefully before it got dark. At this moment, to get to the community where the armored vehicle was parked, they had to cross several streets, and the heavy snow had not melted, so many places were difficult to walk. Therefore, the supplies in the room could only be left here temporarily. After going downstairs, Zhao Tuanchuan was shocked when she saw several scattered corpses near the apartment building. Not long after Lin Qi left during the day, she heard the sound coming from downstairs. She was so scared that she didn't dare to go out at all. She didn't expect these people to die so miserably. These people were killed by the mutant cat. Fortunately, there was that guy, otherwise you would be in trouble if you broke into the building. Ordinary survivors in the doomsday are still quite scary, because you never know what he is thinking. When night falls, most survivors will not go out, and even the rescue team of the central camp will all return to the camp to prepare for the arrival of darkness. At this time, it is actually the safest. The two followed the road they had walked before, wading through a passage in the snow, and slowly moved forward until it was completely dark before they arrived at the gate of the community. Huh? Is there anyone living here? There were traces of trampling on the snow at the entrance of the community. Judging from the density of the footprints, it seemed that many people lived here. In fact, when the two of them first arrived at this community, there were several eyes staring at them from the windows of the upper floors, full of hostility. Brother Lin, how about we change places? Zhao Tuanchuan was a little worried. If there were other survivors nearby, she would not be able to sleep peacefully. No, it doesn't matter if there are more people. It can also give early warning. We won't live here for a few days. With a gun in hand, most of the survivors can be deterred, so he was not worried. He took Zhao Tuanchuan to walk around in front of several apartment buildings, found a building with the least footprints at the door, opened the door and walked in. This community has more than a dozen floors, and most of the doors have been pried open. Lin Qi chose a room with an anti-theft door on the 5th floor. After entering, he put the supplies he carried in the bedroom and began to check the surroundings outside the window. Because of the anti-theft door, this household has not been searched by anyone. The house is still clean and tidy. Most importantly, there are some edible supplies. Zhao Tuanchuan first checked in the kitchen, then went to the bedroom, and soon came out in a very good mood. You stay in the room and don't come out. I'll go down to see if our car has been discovered by others. Lin Qi was still thinking about his armored vehicle. Although it was hidden deep in the garage, it was inevitable that someone would search for it. If it was discovered by others, they would definitely try to take it for themselves. Okay, then I'll prepare dinner first and give you a surprise when I come back. Zhao Tuanxuan also knew the importance of the armored vehicle. After telling Lin Qi to be careful, he began to take out the supplies and got busy. After leaving the room, Lin Qi did not go downstairs at the first time, but searched upstairs. Most of the doors of this building had been pried open. Entering any room was a mess. It was obviously visited by survivors, and most of the edible things were taken away. After walking around and not sure if there was anyone living in a room, Lin Qi had to go downstairs and follow the stairs to the underground parking lot. For safety reasons, Lin Qi took a steel pipe so that he could improve his gun skills if he encountered zombies. The basement was dark. It took Lin Qi a long time to adapt to the dark environment and see the surroundings vaguely. He then carefully explored deeper. After a few steps, a zombie hidden in the corner came out with a staggering step. When the snow covered the ground, the zombies also hid by the instincts of the virus and entered the underground parking lot unknowingly. Lin Qi fired a shot and easily pierced the zombie's head. He continued to walk deeper. When he came to the corner, the armored vehicle covered by the car cover was still the same. No one had moved it at all. He was relieved. The heavy snow blocked the road, and the vehicles were almost useless. Most of the cars had not been moved for 3 months, and few of them could be used directly. Therefore, many people would not come to the underground parking lot to look for supplies. After all, it was too dark here, and it would be extremely dangerous if they encountered zombies. After making sure that his armored vehicle was still there, Lin Qi slowly retreated, deliberately leaving a few zombies unkilled. Back on the 5th floor, Zhao Tuanxuan was busy preparing dinner in the kitchen. In the absence of electricity and gas, he could only chop wood to make a fire, which made the kitchen full of smoke. Lin Qi did not disturb him. He sorted out the supplies he brought in the living room, especially the fur of the mutant cat. He stretched it out and tied it to the balcony to dry it. The fur of the mutant beast has good defense, and in terms of warmth, it is far better than down jackets and cotton-padded clothes. This fur can be made into 2 clothes with a simple cut, and it can resist the cold winter by wearing it close to the body. With the hot water boiled by Zhao Tuanxuan, Lin Qi took out the genetic crystal of the mutant cat, washed it, and studied it carefully. He had read a lot of information on the internet before. Most of the genetic crystals in the mutant beast can be taken. Once this special crystal is absorbed, it will stimulate the gene activity of the human body, thereby awakening the significant genes, but it also has certain side effects. Just like mutant animals like mutant mice that are infected with viruses all over their bodies, their gene crystals contain a lot of impurities. If they are forcibly absorbed, it will cause a great burden on the body, and there is even a certain chance of being infected with a zombie virus. After washing with hot water, Lin Qi put the mutant cat's gene crystals into the wine glass and slowly soaked them with white wine to disinfect them. "Hubby, let's eat." Zhao Tuanxuan poked her head out of the kitchen. Due to the simple conditions, she only heated up some food, but it was enough to cope with tonight's consumption. "Okay, let's eat first." A dim oil lamp was lit on the table in the living room. It was obviously a very warm atmosphere, but it made people feel depressed. The two adhered to the principle of not wasting and ate all the food on the table. After drinking a cup of hot water, they felt their bodies warm up. "Hubby, I'll make the bed." Zhao Tuanxuan knew what role she played in the doomsday. After cleaning up the dishes on the table, she returned to the bedroom and got busy. In the wine glass on the table, the red crystal gradually lit up with a faint light, which was exactly the same as what Lin Qi had read in the information. When the light came on, it indicated that the gene crystal could be taken. So without hesitation, he took out the gene crystal and threw it into his mouth. A cool feeling slowly slid down his throat and entered his stomach. The next moment, a warm current spread from his stomach and gradually spread throughout his body. In just a short moment, Lin Qi felt hot all over his body, and strength continued to surge out. "It's really strong. It's like taking a tonic." Lin Qi exhaled a breath of hot air and walked towards the bedroom with the oil lamp. Although he could find the right place accurately in the dark, Lin Qi still felt that the visual enjoyment was better. When he entered the room and put down the oil lamp, Zhao Tuanxuan had already been lying on the bed waiting for Lin Qi. "Husband, do you think this dress is suitable for me?" Zhao Tuanxuan smiled shyly, lifted the quilt, and revealed a mysterious figure. She found a very amazing black one-piece cloth from somewhere, crisscrossed, only covering the key parts, looming, hiding a deep temptation. She even held a small white square in her mouth. Chapter 37. I don't want to crowd anymore. A true man never backs down, especially after taking a gene crystal. The endless power in his body spread, giving Lin Qi endless energy. The oil lamp gradually went out, and as the bedroom fell into darkness, the movement slowly stopped. The next morning, a ray of light came through the window and sprinkled on the two of them. Lin Qi opened his eyes on time, without any sign of fatigue from the battle in the middle of the night. The progress is almost 5,000. The progress of unlocking this night was more than the progress of the previous few days combined, and he didn't feel tired at all. Even when he woke up in the morning, he was in a state of supporting this guy. It can be seen how significant the effect of the gene crystal is. Lin Qi stood up and moved his body a few times. He could feel a different power hidden in his body from the usual period. Although this sense of expansion would have errors, the improvement was extremely obvious. My gene awakening doesn't seem to be special. Is it a comprehensive improvement? Everyone's gene awakening is different at first. It is based on their own genetic characteristics to make the dominant more special, so that it can be clearly distinguished. Of course, some people are born with defects. Even if they take gene crystals, they will not show any changes for a while. Lin Qi stretched his waist, and suddenly there was a crisp sound of bones cracking, as if his body had been extended. Looking at Zhao Tuanchuan, who was still sleeping on the bed with his mouth wide open, Lin Qi did not wake him up, but put on his clothes and went to the living room. The mutant cat skin hanging on the balcony had already formed a layer of crystals. After a night of wind, the moisture contained in it had completely evaporated. It would only take a while for it to be completely dry. Lin Qi lit a cigarette and leaned against the window to observe the scene inside the community. The streets were still wide and there was no one in sight. My eyesight seems to have improved a lot. The changes brought about by the gene awakening made him feel as if he had a new body and could experience endless benefits. After preparing breakfast, Zhao Tuanchuan walked out of the room with sleepy eyes. Her hair was fluffy, she was wearing pajamas and slippers, and she looked listless, not as satisfied as she was a few days ago. Even if she had a special physique, her body could not bear it after a night of continuous flying. "Honey, you've become so powerful, I'm almost falling apart." Zhao Tuanchuan ate breakfast with a happy face, her eyes had already become crescents. "This kind of thing is addictive for women. I will become more and more powerful in the future, you have to be prepared." Lin Qi smiled and joked, handing the empty cup beside him to Zhao Tuanchuan. "Honey, even if you kill me, I'm willing." Zhao Tuanchuan smiled, took the cup and was stunned for a moment, then got up and sat on Lin Qi's lap. "It's so troublesome, I don't want to squeeze." Then he lifted his pajamas and put it to Lin Qi's mouth. After enjoying the nutritious breakfast milk, Lin Qi began to pack up his equipment and prepare to go out. The heavy snow has shown signs of melting in the past few days, and the survivors in the city have less and less supplies. They have to go out to search almost every day to replenish their accumulation. Staying in the city will sooner or later face danger. The most urgent thing is to choose a place on the edge of the city, and make other plans under the premise of safety. There are many buildings in the north of the city, and there are also hospitals and villa areas. The supplies are much richer than other urban areas. The most important thing is that the villa area is single-family and safer. After winter, everything will revive, and dormant creatures will go out and be active. It will definitely be more difficult to survive than now. Taking advantage of this winter, we must collect enough supplies to have enough capital in the doomsday. After watching Lin Qi leave, Zhao Tuanchuan went back to the house, changed into sportswear, and started exercising in the room. Lin Qi encountered danger several times, and she was unable to help. Unconsciously, she had a sense of crisis in her heart. If she still did not have enough combat power when facing a big crisis in the future, she could only be a real nanny. After going out of the stairs, Lin Qi chose to go out from the underground garage and take a look at his armored vehicle. But when he came to the garage, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Even in the daytime, the garage was pitch black, but now it gave him a different feeling. Although the underground garage was still gray, in his eyes, he could clearly see the surrounding environment. "Can I see at night?" Lin Qi then remembered that according to the data recorded in those materials, after taking gene crystals, there may be a very small chance of obtaining certain characteristics of mutant beasts. He didn't expect that his luck would be so good. In this case, when looking for gene crystals for Zhao Tuanchuan in the future, should he pay more attention to cows? The zombies hidden in the corner of the garage were nowhere to be found, but Lin Qi did not kill them. Leaving them in the garage could also protect his armored vehicle. After leaving the community, he still followed the original road and rushed to the community where he lived yesterday. The snow on the road had melted, and the footprints could be seen on the concrete ground. There were also several more wheel tracks on the road, but judging from the width of the wheels, they were not armored vehicles used by the Federation. All the way to the entrance of the community, he encountered several waves of survivors who went out to search for supplies, some of whom even drove off-road vehicles. It seems that everyone is ready to move outside. I'm afraid that when the snow melts completely, this area will be reclaimed by the federal camp. The areas under the jurisdiction of the Federation will definitely promulgate the rules and laws of the Doomsday. Once you join them, you must abide by the rules. Those who have just gained a foothold in the Doomsday or enjoyed the taste of power will naturally be unwilling to give up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They will win over the survivors, collect supplies, find a suitable place, and build their own kingdom. Lin Qi entered the community and approached the building carefully. From a distance, the bodies on the ground had disappeared, and the snow was full of drag marks and blood marks. As he expected, these bodies had been dragged away by mutant beasts. The drag marks disappeared at the corner of the wall, which was exactly the location where the pit was found on the lawn. At this moment, the cave was dug again, and the entrance could even accommodate one person. Is it a mutant rat again? The familiar stench in the cave was exactly the same as the one I smelled in the hotel. Unlike normal times, animals hibernate in winter. Mutant beasts are extremely active and will continue to go out hunting even in winter. Encountering mutant rats so frequently, Lin Qi even suspected that the entire city's sewers had been occupied by rats. Coming to the third floor, Lin Qi checked several rooms and roughly counted the remaining supplies. His armored vehicle could not fit them all, so he had to abandon some of them. But he had to take away several power banks, computers, gas tanks, etc. Chapter 38 Survivors in the Community. There were many cars parked in the underground garage. Lin Qi chose an off-road vehicle with large space and installed anti-skid chains on the tires. Then he carried the materials one by one, and ran back and forth for more than 10 times before the car was full. With a roar, the off-road vehicle drove out of the garage, crossed the main road of the community, and headed towards the street. The roar of the off-road vehicle quickly attracted the attention of the survivors nearby, and they all watched from the dark. However, when they realized that there was only an ordinary off-road vehicle, they all breathed a sigh of relief. What they feared was the armored vehicle of the Federal Rescue Team, and they didn't care about this ordinary vehicle at all. "Boss, that car is good, do you want to rob it?" At the door of a supermarket in the distance, a man with glasses saw the nice off-road vehicle and immediately had the idea of robbing it. Hearing this, a man walked out of the store. He was wearing a big mink, a gold chain around his neck, sunglasses, and a cigar in his mouth. He walked out with a figure-8 step. "Why are you robbing? We are law-abiding citizens. Why don't we just buy it for 200 yuan? This guy had a hint of evil in his eyes. He glanced at the direction where the off-road vehicle left, waved his hand and called a younger brother to order him. "Follow the car and see where it goes. Come back and report to me." There were also several cars parked at the entrance of the supermarket, but they were all small pickup trucks, and a lot of supplies were piled on them. Hearing this, the younger brother quickly rode a motorcycle and chased after it. The off-road vehicle turned into another road and crossed several streets before arriving near the community. At the entrance of the community, there happened to be a few survivors who were about to go out. When they saw an off-road vehicle coming, they all showed alertness on their faces. "Stop." There was a horizontal railing at the entrance of the community, and an iron gate was installed, but one exit was destroyed, so only one person could enter and exit. There were 5 of them in total, each holding a steel pipe machete and a fire axe, and they all had good fighting power. Lin Qi turned off the engine and got out of the car, with his hands already in his pockets. "This is our territory. Outsiders are not welcome. Leave quickly." The young man holding a fire axe stepped forward, and his words seemed to drive Lin Qi away. "What do you mean by your territory? I came here 5 days ago, and there is another companion in the community. Who are you fooling? When Lin Qi first came to this community, there should not be many people here." "Huh?" The young man was stunned and subconsciously wanted to scratch his head. "Xiaojun, don't listen to his nonsense, he is fooling you," an old man behind him said in a deep voice. He saw that when Lin Qi got off the car just now, the car was full of supplies. For a moment, his thoughts opened up and associations kept coming up. Two villains appeared in his mind, arguing non-stop. One said, "Rob him." The other said, "Okay." The two ideas agreed, and he stood up. "This community is our territory. If you want to go in, you must leave half of the supplies." He did not say to rob, but to ask for half first to see the other party's attitude. If the other party gave in, he dared to rob the car and the people. "Yes. Leave half of it, so that we don't have to go out to look for supplies." The 5 people quickly reached a consensus, relying on their numbers and other confidence. The survivors who dare to survive outside now have some skills. One is that they are very ambitious, and the other is that they feel that their bodies have undergone strange changes, and they have started the road of genetic awakening, thinking that they are the protagonists of the doomsday. Anyway, there are so many things, you can't use them all. You talk back and forth, and someone immediately stepped forward, ready to open the car door to see what's inside. But when the man just stepped forward, a pistol was pressed against his forehead. "Back off, back off." The black muzzle of the gun gave people an inexplicable pressure. With a clang, the machete in his hand fell to the ground, and his hands were raised high. "Brother, don't, be careful of accidental discharge." As soon as the pistol came out, the arrogance of several people was instantly suppressed, and they unconsciously became turtles. Lin Qi called out the names of them one by one with a pistol, indicating that they all squatted on the ground, and then lit a cigarette against a car door. "Tell me, when did you guys come to this community? How many people are there with you?" In the doomsday, it is also necessary to understand the difficulty of others' survival. Just looking at the official statements on the internet does not mean anything. "Brother, we came on a snowy day. We all wanted to join the Federation, but our leader said that if we go now, we will face too much competition. The accommodation we are assigned is not as good as finding a community outside. So we let us stay and recruit some powerful survivors. When the time comes, we will go to the quarantine-safe area together and we will be given some preferential policies." The young man sold out his leader directly at first. The more cooperation at this time, the greater the chance of survival. Although he did not believe that the other party dared to shoot at this time, he did not dare to provoke him again. Lin Qi moved the gun from his forehead to the other person's head. "We had 8 people at the beginning, and some joined later. Now there are 35 people, all in Unit 2 of the community." Seeing the pistol move in the direction, the other 3 raised their hands quickly. "Open the door and get out of here." More than 30 people were already a large group. Lin Qi didn't need to waste his bullets for this little conflict. Anyway, he was going to leave the community today. The 5 people didn't dare to disobey. They quickly came to the gate of the community, moved the piled-up debris, and opened the iron gate. Seeing the SUV driving into the underground garage, the pressure in their hearts gradually dissipated. No, how could he have a gun? After the crisis, the sense of luck in their hearts arose, and they immediately doubted the authenticity of the pistol. Is it possible that the gun is fake? But even if they had such doubts in their hearts, the 5 people didn't dare to gamble. They had to quickly return to the apartment building and report the matter to their companions. The SUV parked in the garage, and Lin Qi transferred all the supplies to the armored vehicle. After moving the last few, he covered the car again and went back to the 5th floor along the stairs. Zhao Tuanxuan was exercising in the room all morning, and only stopped to rest for a while at noon and started to prepare lunch. When Lin Qi came back, she had just prepared the food. "Hubby, you're back." Seeing Lin Qi coming back, a happy smile immediately appeared on her face. "Well, I've already transported all the supplies here. Let's leave here after lunch and go to the north of the city." Lin Qi was already familiar with a map of the 32 urban districts and had memorized it in his mind. In addition, there was a highway intersection in the north of the city, which led directly to another big city with a provincial road, making it easier for future decisions. "Okay, we'll go wherever you say." Zhao Tuanxuan naturally obeyed Lin Qi. The two quickly finished their lunch, packed up, and went downstairs. Chapter 39 Teacher By. At this moment, at the gate of the community, several cars slowly drove into the community and stopped in an open space. Big Golden Neck got out of the car, looked around, and seemed quite satisfied. "This place is good, it will be ours in the future." Before, they controlled a supermarket, but seeing that the federal rescue team was constantly expanding, perhaps in 2 days, the supermarket would be included in the scope of the central camp, so they could only find another temporary residence in advance. "Boss, The off-road vehicle just now seemed to have entered the underground garage. Looking at the wheel marks on the ground, a younger brother was eager to try and wanted to snatch the off-road vehicle to win the credit. You two go and find the key, and by the way, if anyone is willing to join us, give them some benefits. If there are any beautiful women, keep an eye out for me. Big Golden Neck lit another cigar, leaned in front of the car, and signaled a younger brother holding a loudspeaker to come forward. Listen upstairs, our boss is coming to this community now. Come down quickly if you know what's good for you. If you don't see anyone within 15 minutes, our boss said, kill them if you find them. The voice almost spread throughout the community, and even Lin Qi, who was preparing to drive in the underground garage, heard it clearly. Huh? Is there any movement outside? Lin Qi wanted to drive the armored vehicle away directly, but when he heard this voice, he couldn't help but stop what he was doing. Not knowing what was going on outside, driving the armored vehicle out would definitely cause an accident, so after locking the car door, the two of them quickly came to the garage entrance. It happened that at this time, two of Da Jinbo's men also came to the garage. When they saw the two people walking out, they were so scared that they trembled and raised their machetes. Fuck, I thought they were zombies. Unlike Lin Qi, the two could see the environment clearly in the dark. After realizing that there were only two people, they immediately regained their fierceness. Especially when they saw Zhao Tuanxuan's appearance, one of them was even more excited. This chick is pretty good. The boss will definitely be satisfied if you take her back. As he said that, the man picked up a machete and walked towards Lin Qi, exuding a fierce aura. Boy, our boss has taken a fancy to this girl. If you don't want to die, get out of here, or I'll chop off your head with a knife. Only those who have killed people will have such a fierce aura, and in the apocalypse, this kind of thing is nothing more common. Zhao Tuanxuan's nervous hand slowly reached into her pocket, ready to take out the pistol. She has practiced the shooting posture countless times during this period. At such a close distance, she believes that she will not make any mistakes. Don't waste bullets, I'll deal with them. Lin Qi was deeply relieved when he noticed Zhao Tuanxuan's actions. As a nanny, she dared to attack without self-consciousness, which was more than most people in the apocalypse. If it were normal times, when encountering such a gangster, most people would find a way to give in, or say something like negotiation and warning. But this is the apocalypse. Lin Qi stretched out his hand to his waist, rushed forward very quickly, and the dagger drew an arc in the air, and then inserted into the neck of another person. After the gene awakening, Lin Qi's physique has been greatly improved, both strength and speed have increased a lot, and although the dagger skills are only elementary, he has already used them to perfection. The man in front felt a chill on his neck, and his breathing suddenly stagnated. His neck even made a wheezing sound. He subconsciously covered his neck, and a stream of blood oozed out from his fingers. His body fell to the ground uncontrollably. The other person had a dagger stuck in his neck. He opened his mouth with difficulty, and Lin Qi pulled it hard, revealing his trachea. You don't know how to live or die. You dare to tease my woman. Lin Qi shook off the blood on the dagger and slowly inserted it back into his waist. Zhao Tuanxuan behind him had bright eyes and couldn't help but give a thumbs up. My husband was so handsome just now. No woman can resist such charm, especially when he is fighting for his own rage and killing the enemy. They are handsome, but these two guys are too weak. The two walked around the corpse and walked out of the underground garage. Not long after, a mutant rat hiding in the dark seemed to smell the blood and slowly crawled out. At this time, many people in the community had already gone downstairs, and both sides were confronting each other in front of the community park. Oh, there are quite a few people. Big Golden Neck looked at the crowd going downstairs with a sidelong look. Although the other side had far more people than he brought, he was not worried at all. Being able to become the boss at the end of the world and having a bunch of younger brothers under him is not a simple boss. Who are you? The leader of the community side was a middle-aged man in a black windbreaker, and his tone of voice was slightly condescending. He looked like either a small leader or a private company boss. He looked at Big Golden Neck next to the car with a hint of disgust in his eyes. No matter when, this kind of nouveau riche is very annoying. You are the manager, right? You have quite a few people under you. Oh, there is also a beautiful lady. Da Jinbozi walked forward slowly, and when he saw the last woman in the crowd, his eyes suddenly widened. Even in the previous peacetime, he rarely saw such a charming woman. Just standing there, she attracted the attention of most people. I am the manager of this community, Song Yunpen. Please give me some face and evacuate. Otherwise, we will fight and hurt the harmony. Song Yunpeng's eyes showed a hint of gloom. Da Jinbozi really had a good eye. He fell in love with a female teacher he had admired for a long time at first sight. Hurt the harmony? What qualifications do you have to hurt the harmony with me? Da Jinbozi sneered, reached into his arms and took out a pistol, looking at the people in front of him with disdain. When the pistol was raised, he felt particularly satisfied when he saw the panicked expressions of the group of people. Damn, how can there be so many guns? They are fake. This one must be fake. Among the 5 people who met Lin Qi before, the young man didn't believe in evil. Perhaps because of his previous retreat, he felt that he had lost face, so he actually came out with a machete. You want to scare me, right? If you have the guts, just shoot. Bang. As soon as he finished speaking, a gunshot shocked everyone, and some people even screamed on the spot. Don't move, I will kill anyone who moves. Da Jin's face turned red in an instant, his flesh twitched, and his pistol pointed at everyone's head. Has this kid always been so brave? Doesn't he know that guns can kill people? The corpse on the ground made everyone dare not speak, especially the blood hole on his head, which indicated that he was dead and could not even become a zombie. Big brother, please talk nicely. Don't do it. You are committing a crime. Song Yunpeng's hands were shaking. He initially thought that the other party was just a few thugs who wanted some benefits. He could get rid of them by relying on his large numbers. However, he never expected that the other party had a gun in his hand. Criminal? I have killed people, so why should I care about criminals? Today I have made a promise. This community belongs to me. You are all my people now. Send that woman to me. The big golden neck pointed at the female teacher in the crowd. While establishing his authority, he also wanted to completely defeat the justice in the hearts of these people. As long as he retreated once, he would find a suitable excuse for the oppression he encountered later. Teacher Bai, don't worry, we will protect you. Song Yunpeng tried his best to maintain his last bit of dignity, but his trembling feet did not take a step. The crowd automatically parted, as if to make way for the female teacher. Chapter 40. Leave the gun to me. It's Teacher Bai. Lin Qi and Zhao Tuanchuan hid behind a flower bed in front of the garage, just in time to see the scene ahead. Your teacher. Lin Qi didn't expect to meet Zhao Tuanchuan's acquaintance here. Judging from the look of her, she must be in a bad situation. She was my homeroom teacher in high school. I haven't seen her since the holiday. I didn't expect to see her today. Teacher Bai has always cared about me. Zhao Tuanchuan didn't ask Lin Qi for help, but still expressed his intention. Okay, since she's a good friend, it doesn't hurt to help her. At this moment, everyone was intimidated by the gun in Da Jin's neck, and dared not move. Teacher Bai frowned slightly, and already understood the thoughts of the people around her. She had to look at the colleagues around her who had a good relationship with her, but at this moment everyone was avoiding her gaze and dared not make contact. Sir, even if the social order changes in the doomsday, killing is still an unforgivable sin. When the federal government recaptures the city, they will definitely settle accounts one by one, and you can't escape. Teacher Bai said calmly. She has a scholarly and elegant temperament, and she is neither humble nor overbearing. Therefore, when she spoke, almost everyone listened carefully. I have killed people, why do I still care about these? What can the Federation do? In troubled times, heroes emerge. Why can't I, Da Bao, be the king? Da Jinbo shouted disdainfully. Although he looked fierce and fierce, he was very thoughtful. Now in the doomsday, the federal rescue team can only recapture those major cities, and some remote towns can't be taken care of at all. He only needs to take people to find a remote place, and he can become a local emperor. Maybe he will respond to the amnesty and change his identity. But during this period, he can enjoy too much? His words caused disdain from those intellectuals, but no one dared to laugh out loud. Honest people can only accept the doomsday. Big Golden Neck swayed with every step, and when he came to Teacher Bai, his eyes were shining brightly under such a close observation. Teacher Bai was wearing a black down jacket. Although it was stained with some stains, the stain-resistant color was not visible at all. The thick down jacket did not make her look bloated at all, but instead showed her exquisite figure. The low ponytail was a little fluffy, but her face was very white, and her big eyes were particularly bright under her silver eyes. Your skin is so white and you are so beautiful. The top girls I ordered in the club before were not as beautiful as you. Follow me and I promise to make you beautiful to this guy. How about it? The rude man could not say any exquisite words. It was originally a good intention to court, but in the ears of these intellectuals, it was so vulgar. Teacher Bai's face became more and more ugly, and she subconsciously took a step back, but this only contributed to the arrogance of Big Golden Neck. Damn it, educated women are reserved. You two open the car door and lay the back seat flat for me. I'm going to enter the bridal chamber now. The more Dajinbozi looked at it, the more he felt his breathing quicken. He grabbed Teacher Bai's arm and dragged him to the car. As he passed by everyone, no one dared to step forward to stop him, and some even subconsciously stepped aside. This scene made Teacher Bai's heart even colder. But now he can only rely on himself. The car door was opened, and Dajinbozi's mouth was almost grinning to his ears. Just when he was about to declare his sovereignty, suddenly there was a whoosh, and an arrow flew at high speed, instantly piercing his fat head. This change startled everyone, but Teacher Bai was the first to react. She quickly snatched Dajinbozi's pistol and aimed at the people beside her cautiously. Put down your weapons and step aside. Teacher Bai's gun-holding posture was very standard. Judging from the posture, it seemed that she had used a gun. She leaned against the car and did not leave her own flaws to anyone. But at the same time, he was also looking around, hoping to find out who killed Dajinbozi. Teacher Bai, are you okay? Zhao Tuanshan appeared in the distance, but after seeing Teacher Bai snatch the pistol, the worry on his face was gone. Tuanshan. Teacher Bai saw the man next to Tuanshan holding a wooden bow in his hand, and immediately reacted. He should have shot the man. Lin Qi drew his bow again and aimed at the men under Dajinbozi, but the deterrence of the bow and arrow did not seem to be as strong as that of the pistol, even if he had just shot and killed one person. You guys should leave quickly, while there is still a chance to go to the central camp to reform yourself. Teacher Bai pointed at the men and moved the pistol slightly. She did not want to kill them. Hearing her words, the younger brothers hurriedly fled outside, and even dared not drive the few cars parked in the community. In the blink of an eye, they all ran away. You can talk to your teacher about the past. I'll go get the car out. Lin Qi didn't want to get involved with these people too much. After telling Zhao Tuanshan, he turned and walked towards the underground garage. Seeing the ruthless man with the bow leave, the rest of the people dared to breathe heavily. That guy actually dared to kill people. It seems that he is not a good person. There were discussions in the crowd, but the voices were very low. Yet, we have to be careful. Fortunately, Teacher Bai took the gun away. He certainly doesn't dare to do anything rash. Song Yunpeng forced a smile and walked to Teacher Bai. Just when he was about to say something, Teacher Bai ignored him and walked straight to Zhao Tuanshan. Tuanshan, why are you here? Teacher Bai used to pay a lot of attention to this student of his. He was cute and well-behaved, good at studying, and polite. Before the two of them talked about the past, Song Yunpeng came over and whispered to Teacher Bai. Teacher Bai, the man who dared to kill people just now must not be a good person. We should be careful. Why don't you give me the gun so that we can be prepared later? Song Yunpeng was very concerned about the pistol. With a gun, he could really intimidate the people around him, just like the big golden neck just now. You are not a good person. Brother Lin just saved you. Before Teacher Bai said anything, Zhao Tuanshan couldn't help but refute. She had no tolerance for people who dared to slander her husband. What do you know, little girl? He just killed someone. Song Yunpeng's face was stern, and he scolded in a scolding tone. In his opinion, only he was qualified to use this gun. Teacher Bai looked at Song Yunpeng with disgust and pulled Zhao Tuanshan behind him. I had military training in college, and I could hit 10 rings at close range. This gun can only be used to the greatest extent in my hands. Teacher Bai looked at Song Yunpeng warily. After getting along with him for this period of time, she knew the character of this kind of person. The atmosphere was deadlocked for a while. At this moment, a roar came from the underground garage, and a military green armored vehicle drove out of the underground garage. The roar was like a giant beast, which scared everyone to disperse quickly. The armored vehicle stopped in the open space of the community, the car window opened, and Lin Qi glanced at everyone. Tuanshan, get in the car and go. Zhao Tuanshan opened the co-pilot door without hesitation. Teacher Bai, you are going with us too. Although she was not very old, she could still distinguish the changes in interpersonal relationships. At this moment, after the incident just now, Teacher Bai had a gap with these people. If she continued to stay here, She would definitely be excluded everywhere. Teacher Bai also nodded without hesitation, and prepared to follow Zhao Tuanchuan into the car. Brother, are you going to the central camp? Take us with you. Song Yunpeng did not expect that there would be an armored vehicle in the underground garage of this community. At this moment, he regretted why he did not check the underground garage carefully when he came to this community. Sorry, my car is full and can't accommodate anyone. There are still many cars in the garage. You can leave by yourselves. What the hell, you want to ride in your own car? Ignoring the few people who came forward to show their friendship, the armored vehicle quickly drove out of the community with the roar of the accelerator. Teacher Bai, leave the gun trace when you leave. Song Yunpeng chased all the way to the gate of the community. Seeing that the armored vehicle had no intention of stopping, he stomped his feet in anger, and his face became more gloomy. Chapter 41 Bai Su's Villa. Thank you for saving me. Teacher Bai was full of gratitude. Although the nervous expression before gradually disappeared, the redness on her neck had not completely faded. You're welcome. If I hadn't taken action just now, you should have been able to take the gun away, right? Lin Qi's eyesight had improved a lot, and when he aimed just now, he had deliberately observed for a while. Teacher Bai was not at a loss like ordinary people, with a look of fear on her face. Instead, her eyes were very calm, and she even looked at the pistol on Dajin's neck many times. Although I can succeed, I have to pay some price. The consequences are not something I can bear now. Teacher Bai shook her head. It was a fact that she was saved, and she would definitely remember it in her heart. Where are you getting off? Lin Qi asked as soon as they turned onto the main road. Teacher Bai and Zhao Tuanchuan were sitting in the co-pilot's seat, which was a little crowded. But fortunately, there was no regulation now, and they would not pay attention to those rules. Aren't you going to the central camp? Teacher Bai did not ask where the armored vehicle came from, but she became more and more curious about Lin Qi. Zhao Tuanchuan first glanced at Lin Qi, and only explained when he didn't get a clear hint. We are going to the villa area in the north of the city, not the central camp. If they were ordinary people, joining the central camp and letting them escort them to the isolated safe area would be the most appropriate choice, but both of them were gene awakeners, and they would get better resources outside and their strength would increase faster. Villa area in the north of the city. Teacher Bai seemed to have thought of something and was a little surprised at the decision of the two. When the armored vehicle came to an intersection, Lin Qi slowly stepped on the brakes. Go along this road and you will reach the central street. You may meet the transport vehicle of the central camp on the way. You have a gun in your hand, so you should be able to arrive smoothly. We won't send you. Although Teacher Bai is beautiful and has a unique temperament, Lin Qi knows that this woman is not ordinary. I'm not going to the central camp. Can I go to the north of the city with you? The temperature emitted by the air conditioner in the car gave people a very comfortable feeling. Teacher Bai rolled up the hair hanging by her ears, glanced at the direction of the central camp, turned around, and looked at Zhao Tuanchuan seriously. She also knew that the real decision-maker was Lin Qi, but if she wanted to take this ride, she had to rely on her students. Okay, after all, you are Tuanchuan's teacher, so you have to give him some face. Lin Qi agreed without waiting for Zhao Tuanchuan to speak. When he was out, he had to give his woman face. If he refused, Zhao Tuanchuan would not say anything on the surface, but she would definitely feel awkward in her heart. The brake was released, and the accelerator was stepped on, and the armored vehicle roared again. Going north along the way can lead to the north of the city, but Lin Qi's chosen destination is in the northeast of the city, which is just at an angle. Therefore, he drove east for more than 10 minutes before turning into another road. There was no trace of footprints on the snow here. Since it snowed, no one has visited it. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bai Su. I am a high school teacher with a double doctorate degree, majoring in biotechnology and computer science. Bai Su stretched out her hand and introduced herself first, while also showing her own background and value. Female doctor? Excuse me. Lin Qi's impression of female doctors is that of the type of non-Miju. Hearing the title of the double doctor, he looked at it carefully in surprise. After a simple handshake, he also introduced his information. Lin Qi, master of lockpicking, archer. This introduction made Bai Su stunned, and she didn't react for a while. Teacher Bai, what Brother Lin means is that he can pick locks and shoot arrows, and he shoots very well. Zhao Tuanchuan explained with a smile. Fortunately, he knew both of them, otherwise he really didn't know how to introduce his profession. Nanny or something, It's too ugly. Should I call it a supply person? I also learned archery before. It seems that your bow should be homemade. I didn't expect it to be so powerful. The arrow shot through Dajin's neck and scared Bai Su at the time. Fortunately, she blocked the fear in time and didn't panic. As a knowledgeable person, Teacher Bai Su is actually an awakened person, and there were signs of awakening before the end of the world. The armored vehicle drove for a distance and entered the northern part of the city. Especially when there is no traffic jam, it can save almost half of the time. As a senior intellectual, you should get special attention if you join the Federation. Why do you want to go to the northern part of the city with us? Lin Qi asked the doubts in his heart. Although he has a relationship with Zhao Tuanchuan, it is not good enough to let a teacher with a double doctorate degree accompany him. I have my own concerns, and Song Yunpeng is not a good person. If I meet him in the future, I must be careful and guard against him. Obviously, I am the victim, but those people will feel differently. I didn't stand up at the critical moment. If Bai Su died, it would be fine, but she was saved by someone. Whenever this matter is mentioned in the future, it will be a humiliation to them. Especially Song Yunpeng, who didn't get the gun, is likely to hold a grudge. It's so absurd and unbelievable. Let's wait until those people survive. I encountered a lot of mutant rats in the underground garage, and there are 2 corpses in the community. If they don't deal with them, I'll be busy tonight. When Lin Qi returned to the garage to drive, he happened to encounter a few mutant rats gnawing on the 2 corpses. This kind of social creature, if one comes, the second will come. With a lot of bloody air, it will definitely attract a large group. At night, they will slowly search the entire floor for the smell of living people. Lin Qi can almost foresee that kind of tragic scene, just like the hotel near the central camp. Although the armored vehicle was equipped with anti-skid chains, the speed was still not fast. Finally, after an hour, it arrived in the northeast of the 32nd district. There are high-end restaurants and entertainment venues on both sides of the street. Such places can be used as temporary resettlement places, but Lin Qi still found footprints of pedestrians on the snow, and they are very dense. Lin Qi spread out the map and took a look. His ideal safe base is only 3 streets away from here, that is, the villa area across the river. When the time comes, he can choose any place. The villa has a separate courtyard and a wall, which can at least avoid most of the dangers. The armored vehicle drove to the vicinity of the villa area. When Lin Qi was about to choose a place, Bai Su, who was sitting in the passenger seat, pointed to a villa in front and said, "Let's go to that villa." The location of that villa was very good, and the scale was relatively large. There was also a protective net on the high wall. Lin Qi took a look around and found that the terrain of that villa was indeed better, so he turned the steering wheel and turned it. When it stopped at the door of the villa, the armored vehicle turned off, and the 3 people got out of the car and looked around. This villa is more than 600 square meters, 3 stories high, and there is a parking garage in the basement, which is also 3 stories high. It has its own power supply system and should still be usable. Bai Su reported the situation of the villa like a treasure, and even walked to the front door to check it out. "How do you know so much?" Lin Qi asked curiously, and followed him to open the door. "And by the way, let this woman see his unlocking skills. This villa is my home." Bai Su pressed her hand on the access control, and there was only a beep. Verification successful. "Welcome home." A gentle mechanical voice came, and the door clicked and slowly extended to both sides. "Don't just stand there, drive your car in." The group exploded, and another one was created. If anyone is interested, please join it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Contrast. Since we are here, we should make the best of it. Obviously, none of the villas around here are as suitable as this one. The armored vehicle drove into the villa, and under Bai Su's guidance, it drove into the underground garage. Walking out of the garage, Lin Qi couldn't help but sigh that the hobbies of rich people are really different. There are 3 cars parked in the underground garage, and there is a studio next to it, with various tools and a small machine tool. This is just the first underground floor. There are also the 2nd and 3rd floors below. I will take you to visit them later. I will go change clothes first. Bai Su saw the surprise in Lin Qi's eyes, and couldn't help but smile slightly, and went upstairs along the spiral staircase. Although there is still electricity stored in the villa, it is better to save as much as possible at this time. Tuan, what is your status as a teacher, and can you afford such a villa? Although Lin Qi didn't know the price of this kind of villa, all the facilities revealed the word expensive. I don't know either. Teacher Bai didn't tell me about her family background. But she is from Beijing and goes back every year during the holidays. Tuan was also surprised. Although her family background was not bad, it was nothing compared to this villa. Lin Qi was visiting the studio. Most of the tools had an inexplicable attraction to men. Sometimes, if they saw a straight stick, they would try to take it back for collection. The machine tools in the studio were the dream of the masters of handicrafts. After visiting for a while, Bai Su had changed into clean clothes and returned to the basement. I have prepared a room for you. You can take a shower and eat later. Before the doomsday came, some people had already known the inside information in advance, but it was only a rough idea of what would happen. Bai Su was unlucky. She was trapped in the city when she went to school to get information. At that time, she was supposed to go to the central camp with the teachers of the school, but she encountered some troubles on the way and accidentally left the team. She had to join the community where Song Yanteo was. Teacher Bai, I'll go cook. Zhao Tuanchuan took on her task consciously. During this period of time, she has learned the skills of survival. Okay, the kitchen is on the first floor, you can see it when you go up. Bai Su did not refuse. After Zhao Tuanchuan left, she had some things to find out from Lin Qi. After Zhao Tuanchuan went up the stairs, Bai Su slowly walked into the studio and started the studio. Originally, it was just a simple lighting device running. After it was started, there was a roar of machines running. I'm curious, Tuanchuan seems to trust you very much? What is your relationship? While speaking, Bai Su kept staring at Lin Qi's expression. From the subtle details, she might be able to judge something. I saved her life, and then she followed me. Naturally, she trusts me very much. Lin Qi looked at the tools in the studio one by one, and finally stopped his eyes on some materials in the corner. Those black metal rods, just the thickness of a finger, seemed very suitable for making arrows. Ordinary arrows are made of wood or carbon fiber. In pursuit of lethality, they will try to maintain a suitable weight. But Lin Qi is different. With his archery skills, he doesn't need to care about the material of the arrows. So he picked up one and studied it. I seem to be as lucky as Tuan. You should have awakened your genes, or have learned about some of the changes in the doomsday. Do you have any plans for the future? Bai Su didn't care about the previous murder at all. If she still had to abide by all the rules in the doomsday, she wouldn't live long. Moreover, such people are not suitable for survival. It is best to stay away from them as much as possible. In her opinion, Lin Qi's handling of the situation at that time was very good. If he came out and shouted directly, the hostages would be threatened again. At that time, even if she had a way to escape, the price she paid would be even greater. Plan? Isn't it just to live well? What other plans can there be? Lin Qi looked at Bai Su curiously, wondering what her intention was in saying this. Gene awakening is not as simple as you think. You will know it later. Bai Su shook her head, seeming a little disappointed. She did not see the kind of lofty ambition and aspiration in Lin Qi. However, most people do not know the secret of the doomsday at the moment, and she still thinks too much. The water and electricity in the villa are still supplied, so the materials she brought are much less useful, but Lin Qi still opened the armored vehicle and took out some important materials inside. Bai Su showed a hint of surprise when she saw the two rifles. Before the doomsday, firearms had become extremely strictly controlled items. Even she could not get one. Unexpectedly, Lin Qi actually had two in his hands. Thinking of the unknown origin of this armored vehicle, she roughly guessed something. What a lucky guy. You showed your card so easily. Aren't you afraid that I will take away your two guns? Seeing Lin Qi put the guns on the table without any hesitation, Bai Su couldn't help asking. In this crisis-filled environment, anyone with a gun would hide it, fearing that it would be taken away by others. Lin Qi, on the other hand, put it aside, as if he was not worried about losing it at all. Don't you have a pistol? To me, pistols and rifles are the same, and they are equally intimidating. The power of firearms is fixed, but bows and arrows are different. Lin Qi always feels that the potential of using bows and arrows is greater, and of course he cannot give up guns. Indeed, For ordinary people without training, rifles are not as useful as pistols, but thank you for trusting me so much." Bai Su was very grateful for Lin Qi's trust. The two rifles played a vital role in the protection of the villa. "Go take a shower first, and we will discuss the next things after dinner. There will be more opportunities for contact in the future." Bai Su is not in a hurry. After taking Lin Qi to the third floor, she led him to his own room. The last time he took a shower, he boiled snow water. It was hard for an afternoon, but there was hot water in the villa, so Lin Qi enjoyed it to the fullest. After taking a shower, he changed into new clothes and came to the first floor. Bai Su was busy in the kitchen, doing the finishing work. The meal was almost ready. Tuanchuan has gone to take a shower. When she comes out, we will eat together. Not long after, Zhao Tuanchuan came downstairs in a refreshing outfit. She changed into pajamas, which fully revealed the magnificent breasts. Bai Su looked at her former student in surprise. There seemed to be three three-dimensional images in front of her eyes. One was herself, one was the former Tuanchuan, and one was the current Tuanchuan. From graduation to now, it has been less than 5 months. How could Tuanchuan grow so big? For a moment, with her IQ, she couldn't figure out this physiological change, and had to look at the two of them curiously. "Teacher Bai, why are you looking at me like this?" Zhao Tuanchuan blushed, and immediately reacted, and quickly pulled her collar. "It's okay, let's eat." For some reason, Bai Su's heart, which had always been calm, showed a slight fluctuation. Chapter 43 Crisis at the beginning of spring. After dinner, Bai Su took the two of them to visit the facilities of the villa. The third floor above ground was the living area. Lin Qi and Zhao Tuanchuan lived in the room on the third floor. The second floor was Bai Su's work area. The entire floor was a laboratory with a large number of precious instruments. The first underground floor was a garage and studio, and the second and third floors had a large number of supplies. After Lin Qi finished the tour, he returned to the studio on the first underground floor and got busy. The supplies he brought were also moved to the second underground floor. The fur of the mutant cat also needed further processing. The materials on the mutant beast are very special. In fact, when the virus just spread, the Federation tried to intensify the experiment on this virus. Bai Su turned on the projection screen in the basement and displayed the content on the wall. That was the data recorded in a laboratory, and it seemed that she was also involved. "You mean, when the virus just spread, you had already started research? Then why didn't you stop it or develop a treatment?" Lin Qi had always had guesses in his heart. After all, the parallel world he was in had also experienced the ravages of various viruses. At the worst time, it was isolated and confined for a year. The Federation seemed to have been prepared for what they did, and even had a plan for the zombies. Each city had isolated streets running through the center, and safety zones built around the city, and even a large number of human elites who were transferred ahead of time. It's not that easy. If we could develop a special medicine, the things that happened later wouldn't have happened. Bai Su opened another file, and after opening it, there were all kinds of mutant beasts, from the initial ordinary form to mutants after being infected with a virus, and then mutated twice, or even 3 times. The Federation and even all countries have used animal stimulation experiments to promote the evolution of mutant beasts, and have obtained detailed experimental results. A special gene chain will form in the mutant animal's body. These gene chains will condense in the brain and constantly promote the evolution of the body. They will also change according to the external situation. Therefore, the evolutionary direction of each mutant creature is partially different. Before I came to the 32nd district, the federal government had already stimulated a third-order mutant beast and obtained very valuable research data. If the second-order mutant beast still has the original characteristics, but only the body part has mutated, then the third-order mutant beast has completely exceeded the shackles of the body and reached a new level of life. There are only a few data on the third-level mutant beasts, and some of them are very eye-catching. A 5-meter-tall creature imprisoned in a cage is covered with bone spurs all over its body, and countless tubes are inserted in various parts of its body, constantly transporting special liquids. There is also a body that is dozens of meters long, shaped like a giant python, but with 4 claws and scales like steel. Isn't this a dragon? Seeing this special creature, Lin Qi's eyes widened, with an unbelievable look. Yes, it is a dragon. Bai Su's tone was full of pride. Unexpectedly, After the unknown creatures in history mutated, they reactivated the recessive genes and reappeared in the world. Doesn't that mean that most of the extinct creatures can appear? As long as the current creatures contain ancient genes. Although Lin Qi didn't understand biology, he could still figure out this simple change. Not only animals, but also humans, but there seems to be a special restriction in the human body. No matter what level of gene strength is reached, the form will not change too much. Bai Su felt it necessary to popularize some knowledge of the genetic level to the two, otherwise it would be impossible to use professional terms to explain this issue. Won't there be too many changes? Zhao Tuanchuan, who was standing by, looked down. With her line of sight blocked, she couldn't see her toes at all, so she breathed a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that if she continued like this, she would turn into a big cow. Actually, this is not the most terrifying thing. Bai Su hesitated for a moment, and decided to tell Lin Qi the truth, so she opened another file. What appeared before her was a dense swarm of insects in various forms. Insects are the species that benefit the most from mutation and evolution. Most insects have a special ability to be reborn from cocoons, and in this process, they will reorganize their genes to form a new life form. Fortunately, it is winter now, and there are almost no insects. When winter is over and spring comes, that will be the biggest disaster for mankind. When Bai Su mentioned insects, there was a trace of fear in her eyes. In the field of biotechnology, she studied insects the most, but in the end, she found that the most mysterious thing was still insects, and most of them were even beyond common sense. No one could predict what kind of monsters would appear after mutation. That is to say, after this winter, humans will face greater dangers, far more terrifying than zombies and mutant beasts. Lin Qi suddenly felt goosebumps all over his body. He couldn't imagine how much harm the insect plague would cause. The mutant rats were already a headache. If hundreds of millions of insects mutated, the entire planet would be ruled by the Zerg in a short period of time. Even if large-scale weapons were used to clean the ground, it would not be clean. If it is only the first stage, humans still have the ability to resist. When the insects get a second evolution in the second year, the genetic strength will increase again. At that time, it will be unpredictable. As long as the pace of human evolution can keep up, we can occupy a place in the doomsday and not be eliminated from the root. Bai Su looked at Lin Qi's nervous appearance, and a hint of inexplicable deep meaning appeared in her eyes unconsciously. This guy gave people the feeling of being too lazy, without a sense of crisis, and he had to give him some encouragement. I dare not think about it. I dare not think about it. Lin Qi couldn't help shaking his head. He thought that the mutant rats were his biggest threat. Now that he had a solid fortress, he should be able to sleep soundly, but Bai Su's words made him feel anxious again. It is only November now. In 4 months, when spring comes and everything revives, not only will a large number of mutant beasts go out to move around, but those insects will also break out of the ground. There has been no human interference for nearly half a year, and it is impossible to know to what extent the insects have multiplied. It seems that I can't slack off during the whole winter, and I must hurry up to improve my strength. Bai Su looked at the fighting spirit gradually appearing in Lin Qi's eyes with satisfaction, and then continued. I have some research data here. If you want to know, I can tell you in detail another day. She paused and continued. We only have 3 months. After 3 months, we must leave the 32 city districts and go to a larger safe haven to avoid the harm caused by the resurrection of the Zerg. Bai Su gave Lin Qi a specific time limit, hoping that Lin Qi could make further progress and have a strong fighting power within these 3 months. Chapter 44 Nudo. Sure enough, the more you know, the greater the pressure. The doomsday is only about 10 days away. Except for some lucky people who can settle down and have a safe place to live, most people are still in fear and confused about the future. There is no doubt that Lin Qi is lucky. After working in the studio for a few hours, most of the tools have been familiar with how to use. In another parallel space, Lin Qi has been busy for half his life. He has also screwed in the factory and is familiar with the use of machine tools. Just a little exploration, he understood the operation control. After making the first arrow shaft, Lin Qi grabbed it in his hand. The heavy feeling gave people a very lethal feedback. He waved it in his hand, and sure enough, an illusory light and shadow appeared on the tip of the arrow, turning into the shape of a gun tip. Is my ability not developed enough? The previous change of mind made the arrow also have the characteristics of a gun, thus having the ability to transform into a gun tip. But Lin Qi has never seriously thought about the extension of the change. 3 edges? 4 edges? Spiral spikes. As Lin Qi's thoughts changed, the illusory spear tip also changed, and even extended into a large arc like a crescent moon. Lin Qi picked up the wooden bow beside him, put the metal arrow on it, pulled it hard, and aimed at the wall. After the Gene awakening, his strength was greatly enhanced. The wooden bow that originally felt a little heavy was pulled to the full bow, and it felt easy to use. I don't know where the limit of my strength is now. Without testing, Lin Qi could only feel it roughly, so he took a deep breath and prepared to release it. Crack! Suddenly, there was a crisp sound, and the wooden bow in his hand broke instantly. Lin Qi took back his strength in time to prevent a broken bow from flying. This bow is no longer suitable for me to use. Although mulberry wood is the best wood for making bows, it is not dried in the shade after all, and the hastily made ones are not perfect. After repeated use, it has reached its limit. In addition, as the strength increased, the weight of the arrow increased, and it finally couldn't bear the weight and reached the limit of its tolerance. After putting down his things, Lin Qi went upstairs. He had been busy for a long time tonight. As for the idea of making a new bow, he would continue to study it tomorrow. He would also ask Bai Su if she had the materials to make the bow. After going upstairs to wash up, Lin Qi looked at the empty big bed, turned around and went out, and walked towards Zhao Tuanchuan's room next door. It's time to drink milk. Bai Su has been paying attention to Lin Qi. In fact, there are all-round cameras in this villa, and even the most secret corners are under her surveillance. Watching Lin Qi go back to his room and prepare to sleep, she was about to go to sleep, but suddenly saw Lin Qi walk out of the room again. Out of curiosity, she enlarged the picture again. However, the next scene made Teacher Bai blush and her heart was restless. Shameless. Why is Tuanchuan so big? As a doctor in biotechnology, Bai Su also has a deep study of the reproduction of life, and even watched a documentary on the reproduction of human offspring, but the tricks played by these two guys were so unbearable. Tuanchuan is such a well-behaved child, how could he be so unruly? It must be this guy's doing. Bai Su felt the blood flow in her body speed up, her body was restless, she took a deep breath, turned off the surveillance screen, and lay down on the bed. Half an hour later, Bai Su, who had been closing her eyes, suddenly opened her eyes, and hesitated for a long time before turning the surveillance back on. 2 soft white balls that kept rising and falling were projected in her pupils. The next day, Lin Qi appeared in the studio early and continued his research. "Brother Lin, let's have breakfast." At the entrance of the spiral staircase, Zhao Tuanchuan stuck her head out and called out. The new environment did not make her feel uncomfortable. As long as Lin Qi was there, she could feel a sufficient sense of security. "Okay, it will be done soon." Lin Qi saved the drawings, cleaned up the things on the table, and quickly went upstairs to wash up. When they arrived at the dining table, Bai Su sat aside with a strange look on her face, looking at the two people. During the observation in the middle of the night last night, she always felt that when she looked at the two people, she would automatically remove her clothes, and then that kind of picture would emerge. "Teacher Bai, do you have any materials for making a bow in your warehouse? My bow is broken, and I want to make a new one." Lin Qi drank the hot milk that Tuanchuan had made in the morning, and suddenly felt a familiar taste. After a closer look, he found that his milk seemed different from the two of them. Zhao Tuanchuan noticed Lin Qi's doubts, blinked, and almost couldn't hold back a smile on her face. She had specially added something to Lin Qi's milk in the morning. "The things you want are in the warehouse on the second floor of the basement, go find them yourself." Bai Su put down her bowl and chopsticks and left the table. She couldn't eat this breakfast at all, the sausage in the bowl was too weird. "Then what happened to your teacher?" Lin Qi asked in surprise. "He was fine yesterday, but why did he change his personality today?" "I don't know, he was like this when I woke up in the morning." "Did something happen yesterday?" Zhao Tuanchuan picked up a fried egg for Lin Qi. Without the teacher around, he was more relaxed. "No, I stayed in the basement until midnight yesterday, and then went to your room, you know." Lin Qi pondered for a while, and simply stopped thinking about it. After quickly finishing breakfast, he went to the basement to get busy again. There are a lot of materials in the warehouse next to the studio, all of which are the materials purchased by Bai Su before the end of the world, basically food and daily necessities. The basement of the villa covers a large area, which can almost be regarded as a small supermarket. Lin Qi searched one shelf after another, and finally saw what Bai Su said in the corner. There are several bows on the shelf, as well as a large number of accessories and arrows. Without looking at the brand, Lin Qi knows that these bows are worth a lot of money. After all, his understanding of bows has reached a new level. So he picked up a recurve bow and shook it gently. Although the bow is not strung, the vibration from shaking can also distinguish the quality of a bow. Although the compound bow has the strongest lethality, it is definitely not as good as the lightweight recurve bow and traditional bow in terms of continuous shooting and portability. However, Teacher Bai Su does not collect traditional bows here. After all, this kind of thing is not something you can buy just because you want it, and if you have requirements for lethality, it is even more difficult to find a bow. Therefore, after selecting, Lin Qi chose a recurve bow, picked up the carbon arrow beside him, and aimed at the wall in the distance. An arrow was shot out, and the arrow turned into a black light and nailed directly to the wall, but Lin Qi was very dissatisfied. His strength has been increased, and ordinary bows can no longer meet extreme needs. He took a look at the poundage of this bow, which was only 50 pounds. If it was before, it would be fine, and it would even feel a little difficult to use, but now his strength has been greatly improved, and he can already use a more powerful bow. So he selected some more, and found all the bow pieces with larger pounds, looking for the most suitable one for himself. Finally, after continuous attempts, he chose a pulling force of 80 pounds. It's not that 100 pounds can't be pulled open, but 80 pounds is more cost-effective. Chapter 45, I am more interested in measurements than secrets. After shooting a few arrows, Lin Qi was already familiar with the performance of the bow, so he loaded 20 arrows and returned to the studio on the basement floor. Zhao Tuanxuan was busy cleaning the skin of the mutant cat. She had nothing to do but help Lin Qi in this regard. After being soaked in chemicals last night, the fur had been degreased. With just a simple treatment, she could help Lin Qi make a protective garment that would have excellent effects in terms of warmth and defense. Tuanxuan was clever and deft. Although she had not learned this skill, she had an idea after groping around. As the saying goes, men and women work together and work is not tiring. The two had a clear division of labor, and laughter could be heard from the studio from time to time. At this time, Bai Su, who had finished her work in the laboratory, came down and saw Lin Qi and Tuanxuan in the basement. Seeing Tuanxuan processing the fur of the mutant beast, she couldn't help but speak up and give some pointers. Tuan, the fur of mutant beasts is different from the skin of ordinary beasts. If you treat it like this, it will directly damage the structure of the fur and cause slow decay. You must use a special potion to treat it so that the toughness and strength can be maximized. The Federation has already conducted in-depth research on the use of mutant beasts. From gene crystals to fur, even teeth, bones and claws, they all have special functions. Potion? What potion? Lin Qi signaled Tuan to stop. This piece of fur can be made into 2 pieces of protective leather armor. If it is scrapped, it would be a pity. It's hydrochloric acid. Use hydrochloric acid to decompose the gene crystals, and you can separate 3 special substances. One is a crystal, the second is a sticky colloid, and the third is gene fluid. The crystal has many uses. After the sticky colloid is diluted, it will be applied to the mutant animal skin to form a protective layer, making the fur more flexible and not easy to rot. The gene fluid can be directly absorbed. Bai Su explained the closed scientific research results of the Federation, and ordinary people had no idea of their functions. Hydrochloric acid, I remember you have that stuff in your warehouse, right? Lin Qi remembered that there was a lot of hydrochloric acid there when he visited the 3rd floor of the basement yesterday. Yes, I have stockpiled a lot of materials for research before. If you have the kind of gene crystals that have too many impurities and cannot be taken, I can help you decompose them. She was being nice for no reason. She took the initiative to help like this, so she must have something else to ask for. Do you want to decompose the crystals? Or the gene liquid? Lin Qi didn't expect that a gene crystal could have so many uses. My research naturally needs all of them, and as the research progresses, more gene crystals will be needed. Bai Su pushed her glasses. When she was in the Federal Research Room before, she had a lot of gene crystals to use, and she didn't have to worry about the lack of materials, but now the situation is different. With her own strength, it is difficult to get enough materials. Can you produce research results that are useful to me within 3 months? Lin Qi pondered for a moment and asked. If Bai Su's research is really beneficial to him, then he doesn't mind contributing some gene crystals for the other party to study. 3 months is too short. I can only copy and record the data based on the previous data. If I want to really achieve results, I must use a larger laboratory. Bai Su shook her head and continued. Researching new energy materials is a great contribution to the entire Federation and mankind. If we don't delve into it just because it takes a long time, when the crisis comes again, mankind will face a catastrophe. Bai Su was not exaggerating. This was the result of big data calculation. According to the current technology of mankind, if nuclear weapons are not used, it can only last for 10 years at most. Teacher Bai, I am just an ordinary person. I didn't think so much. If there is a suitable gene crystal, I will choose to take it as soon as possible to enhance my own strength. Your research now seems not worth investing. There was no return in 3 months, and I don't know how many gene crystals I had to invest in the middle, just for the benefit of mankind. Lin Qi really couldn't do it, but at the same time he admired such a person. No, since so many gene crystals are needed, why didn't Teacher Bai go to the central camp before? I think the Federation will support your research. Lin Qi suddenly thought of a question. When Teacher Bai followed them here, there were some doubts. Later, when he knew that there was her villa here, Lin Qi dispelled his doubts. But sufficient gene crystals must be more valuable than the things in the villa. In fact, since the early stage of the virus spread, I have obtained samples of the virus source and have been studying in the school laboratory. This time I was trapped in the 32nd district just to return here to retrieve the samples, and this thing must not be known by them. Bai Su was relieved after knowing Lin Qi's thoughts. This kind of person who ignores the overall situation, is self-centered, and only considers the people in front of him. Even if he knows his secrets, he will not disclose them. Then I am not interested in knowing. When Lin Qi heard that there was a secret, he subconsciously avoided it. I don't plan to tell you either. Knowing too much is not good for you. Bai Su curled her lips. She had already revealed half of her biggest secret, and the other party had no interest at all. It was like a punch on cotton, quite uncomfortable. You really don't want to know. Bai Su couldn't help asking again when she saw Lin Qi busy making arrows. Instead of telling me the secret, you might as well tell me your measurements, which will arouse my curiosity. Lin Qi joked to divert the heavy topic, but after he said it, the scene suddenly fell into silence. Tuan pinched Lin Qi's waist from behind. After all, he was his teacher, how could he make such a joke? 88, 60, 89. Bai Su looked at Lin Qi seriously and said 3 sets of numbers. The hand behind him was getting stronger and stronger. Lin Qi took a deep breath and broke free from Tuan's clamp hand. I'll go outside to see if there are any zombies, mutant beasts or something. After saying that, he picked up the bow and arrow and prepared to escape from this place of trouble. I'll go too. Wait for me to change clothes. Bai Su went upstairs after she finished speaking. After all, they were just searching near the villa and didn't need to drive. The two of them could walk there. Tuan, why don't you wait at home? Your teacher and I will go out for a while and will be back soon. Lin Qi still didn't want Tuan to take risks. After all, as a nurse, before she had enough fighting power, she should focus on supplies. Don't be angry with Teacher Bai again. She was serious just now. Tuan looked at Lin Qi strangely. She didn't care about the secrets leaked by Teacher Bai. Anyway, they were not as big as hers. Okay, you have to believe me. After Lin Qi gave a word of instruction, he put on the quiver, inserted the featherless metal arrow into it, picked up the bow and quickly went upstairs. When he walked out of the villa, Bai Su was already waiting at the gate. Lin Qi couldn't help but speed up his pace and catch up. Why don't you take a gun? Bai Su saw the bow on Lin Qi's back. In her opinion, guns are the most powerful weapons. In case of emergencies, they can be easily dealt with. Under normal circumstances, bows and arrows won't cause too much noise, and I have a pistol with me. Lin Qi took out his pistol and showed it to the public, then put it back. The crisis he encountered at this stage was not worth using a gun to solve. Bai Su had also seen Lin Qi's archery skills, so she didn't say anything else. After closing the gate, she walked out of the villa community. Outside the community is a lakeside park with a beautiful environment. As the snow began to melt, the general environment was revealed, and footprints could be seen from time to time on the snow, indicating that there were zombies here as well. Bai Su held a small shovel in her hand, and from time to time she searched under the mud on the roadside, seemingly looking for insects in the soil, or other small things. Occasionally, she would put anything she was interested in into her bag. What's going on between you and Tuanchuan? Bai Su found another insect egg, put it away, and asked proactively. Tuanchuan was her student after all, so she had to ask clearly no matter what. Teacher Bai, you also know that it is not easy to survive in the doomsday. At that time, we depended on each other and encouraged each other. It was easy to develop feelings for each other. After a while, we slept together. But don't worry, I am absolutely sincere to Tuanchuan. As long as I am alive, I will not let her suffer. Lin Qi finally knew why Bai Su had such a face in the morning. It should be because she knew the relationship between him and Tuanchuan. Once a teacher, he is also an elder. When he learned that his lovely student became someone else's woman, he must be unhappy. I hope you can remember what you said today and keep your heart. Tuanchuan is a good girl. Don't let her down. Bai Su said earnestly. Since the two have confirmed their relationship, they can only hold the best plan. They can't break them up. After all, what she did still needs Lin Qi's help. Lin Qi smiled awkwardly, always feeling like meeting the parents. When I was a child, I was afraid of teachers at school. Now that the world is coming to an end, I still have an inexplicable fear of teachers in my heart. The two of them came to the lake unknowingly. Bai Su walked around the lake, seemingly wanting to collect some aquatic creatures, but there was no place to land. Teacher Bai, do you think the fish in the water will also mutate? Lin Qi saw a zombie corpse floating by the lake, and knew that the water here was also polluted. I'm afraid that the creatures in the water have also been exposed to the virus. It will definitely mutate, and the degree of mutation will be faster than that of creatures on land. Bai Su stared at the water for a long time before giving up the urge to go down and walked in another direction. At this moment, a hoarse bird call suddenly came from a distance, and a large black and white bird landed on a branch, shaking off a piece of snow. Is that a magpie? Magpies are omnivorous medium-sized birds, but the magpie that landed on the tree has changed a lot in size. Many of its feathers are missing, and its size is almost 3 times larger than before. When a bird mutates, its feathers will continue to fall off and grow. This mutant magpie is almost done with its transformation. Let's be careful. Bai Su's eyes were solemn. It was not scary to encounter zombies. Even if she encountered a mutant beast, she could kill it with a pistol. But this flying creature was very difficult to deal with. Magpies were originally very aggressive. After the mutation, their temperament became even more violent. From the scarlet eyes, it could be seen that it was an existence that was not easy to mess with. Bai Su made a gesture, and the two of them slowly retreated, hoping to avoid the mutant magpie's field of vision. But the eyesight of birds was so outstanding that the magpies had moved and its eyes locked onto them at the moment they moved their feet. Gah! The mutant magpie's wings fluttered, and its body dived down. Its claws were actually blood red, and it grabbed towards Bai Su's head. The hunting instinct would make it choose weak prey. At this moment, in its eyes, Bai Su looked much weaker than Lin Qi. Originally, the magpie's flying speed was not very fast, but after the mutation, its form became closer to that of a predator. When it dived, it was like a cannonball, almost passing by in the blink of an eye. Bai Su reacted quickly and had already pulled out the pistol at her waist, but she had no time to raise it to shoot. Swoosh! A sound of breaking through the air was heard, and with a muffled sound, the huge magpie fell from the sky, struggling and twitching slightly. For this arrow, Lin Qi applied the ability of the spiral arrow, allowing the arrow to have the penetrating power of extremely fast rotation, completely piercing the heart of the mutant magpie, and even turning the chest into mud. The advantage is that it kills with one shot, but the disadvantage is that the arrow passes through the body and no one knows where it flies. Bai Su looked at Lin Qi in surprise. She had seen Lin Qi kill Dajin Nek with one arrow before, but she had never thought that Lin Qi was so powerful in archery. Chapter 46 100% causes infertility. There should be gene crystals in this kind of flying bird, right? A bird with such obvious mutation must be different from others. If all its feathers grow, it will definitely grow faster than now. Birds are different from ordinary land animals. Those that cannot complete the mutation are basically eliminated. It must have some in its body. Bai Su is very familiar with the habits of creatures. The Federation has made detailed data before. Among various creatures, birds will condense gene crystals in their bodies as long as they survive. Lin Qi used the dagger to dig open the head of the mutant magpie. With a prompt of adding 1 to the vital attack, he found a red gene crystal, which was only the size of a mung bean, but much purer than the one in the mutant mouse. Let's leave quickly. The bloody smell of mutant beasts has a strong attraction to their own kind. Bai Su watched Lin Qi put away the gene crystal and hurriedly urged, "Wait, I want to take this bird back. Maybe I can use it as bait to lure more mutant creatures." The feathers of the mutant crow are also very special. Even the wing feathers have a certain degree of sharpness. If this kind of feathers are used to make arrow feathers, the effect should be better. So they carried a huge bird corpse and quickly retreated towards the villa. Not long after the two left, a group of magpies landed on the treetops, cawing non-stop. Magpies are gregarious birds. When one is found, there must be its companions around. When the bloody smell spreads, the first to notice it are the same kind. Back near the villa, Lin Qi nailed a dead bird to a tree stump, which was just about 50 meters away from the entrance of the villa. Then he took out a bow and arrow and prepared silently. "You want to attract other mutant beasts? Are you sure?" Bai Su looked at Lin Qi's preparations and had guessed what he wanted to do, and couldn't help but worry. If a special mutant beast is attracted, it will be impossible to deal with it by one person alone. Don't worry, there are no large animals nearby, at most wild dogs and cats. After changing to new bow and arrow, Lin Qi has a strong confidence in his improved strength. At this stage, ordinary mutant beasts are not his opponents at all. As long as he occupies a favorable position, he can even be a single man. As the two talked, mutant magpies appeared in the sky. Several huge birds circled around. After discovering the body of the mutant magpie, they cried out noisily. Feeling the death of their own kind, even their cries became sharper. "I'll get the gun." Bai Su took a breath of cold air. If these mutant birds swooped down together, they would tear people to pieces in an instant. No need to be so troublesome, just a few birds. However, Lin Qi's voice was not heard by Bai Su. She had already quickly run back to the villa. However, the entrance of the villa was not short from the underground floor. By the time Bai Su returned, these mutant magpies would have already started attacking him. Strike first. Lin Qi grabbed an arrow and aimed at the mutant magpie that was about to fall on the tree. Swoosh! An arrow was shot out, without even checking whether it hit the target. He quickly put the arrow on the arrow and shot it. The arrow was like an afterimage. In a few breaths, all 8 arrows were shot out. One by one, the mutant magpies fell from the sky, and some were even nailed directly to the tree trunks. The ones that were not dead flapped their wings and struggled. The snow around them was full of blood. Lin Qi went forward and shot a few more arrows. Then he took out the dagger and split the heads of the birds one by one, and took out the genetic crystals. Just after chopping a few, the illusory light curtain appeared again, and the original dagger skill was advanced. All along, there were not many opportunities to hit the vital points, and it was still necessary to use a dagger to complete it. Only this kind of dying mutant creature had the opportunity to meet this condition. Dagger mastery has been advanced. Acquired skill, dagger mastery. When using a dagger, ignore the vital defense. Special skill, kidney shot. When hitting the kidney, it will cause infertility 100%. The current skill can be advanced. 1. Use a dagger to attack the target's vital points 10 times. 2. Use a dagger to kill 10 mutant beasts. Why is this special skill so outrageous? In the future, I will specialize in sterilization surgery for people, and I only need a dagger. After all the gene crystals were taken out, Bai Su and Tuan Tuan came to the door with rifles, watching Lin Qi busy at the door of the villa. "Brother Lin, what a big bird." Lin Qi subconsciously glanced at his crotch. "Come and help pluck the bird feathers, these things are useful. The parts of the mutant creatures are all special. Those bird feathers and sharp claws are rare materials. Even bird meat can be eaten at critical moments." "Oh, I'll go back and get a bag." Tuan Tuan was stunned for a moment, and quickly ran back to the villa. After a while, he ran back with a big bag. Bai Su did not lend a hand to help, but held the rifle and stood guard around. She looked at the arrows stuck in the mutant magpies from time to time, wondering how Lin Qi used this bow and arrow to quickly shoot so many mutant birds. It's more powerful than a gun. After a while, the feathers on the 9 magpies were basically plucked, leaving only the plump bird bodies, and the meat was very full. "Is this meat edible?" Lin Qi poked the bird's wings. He hadn't eaten fresh meat for a while. All he had eaten was dried or refrigerated meat. This fresh mutant meat should be a great tonic. Theoretically, it's edible, but they should have eaten zombie meat. If you don't mind it, you can ask Tuanchuan to stew a pot for you. Bai Su was alert all around. Unknowingly, several zombies staggered over. They should have been attracted here by the smell of blood. After noticing 3 living people, they moved obviously faster. These zombies were all wearing security uniforms or cleaning staff near the villa. Even before the doomsday, these people had to stick to their posts. Bai Su picked up the rifle and fired in a very standardized burst, shooting them in the head one by one. What a waste. Lin Qi looked at the zombies that were shot in the head, his eyes full of regret, but now the long gun was not in his hand, and he couldn't brush the advanced requirements. Brother Lin, don't eat it. This bird has eaten people. Tuanchuan looked disgusted. Last time, he had seen a human finger in a dog's stomach. He felt inexplicably resistant. I know. I'll find a place to dispose of these dead birds later. The bodies of mutant beasts can be used as bait. Lin Qi will not throw them away in vain. After letting Zhao Tuanchuan and Bai Su take the collected materials back, Lin Qi carried a few birds and walked away. After walking for about 500 meters, there was a car parked on the side of the road, which could be used as a temporary trash can. Lin Qi opened the door and threw all 9 birds into the back seat, leaving a gap in the window to let the bloody smell drift out. When I come back the next day, this place will definitely attract a group of zombies, and then I can brush up on the advanced requirements of my gunmanship. Before returning to the villa, Lin Qi deliberately dragged the zombies away and threw them into the gutter. He simply dealt with the bloodstains on the ground. But it still smelled like birds, so he went back to the garage, took a bottle of animal repellent powder, and sprinkled it around. Chapter 47 The Driving Force for Progress. In the studio, Zhao Tuanchuan was sorting the bird feathers. Bai Su had returned to the second floor to process the samples she collected outside. Lin Qi took out a gene crystal obtained from the mutant magpie's head and placed it in a bottle on the workbench. Last time, he only took 1 pill, which improved his physical fitness a lot. I don't know how it will improve after taking it this time. Tuanchuan, help me boil some water. The gene crystal must be processed first, or follow the method Lin Qi got from the internet. First wash it with boiling water, then soak it in alcohol, and wait until it starts to glow, then it can be taken. After Tuanchuan boiled the hot water and brought it up, Bai Su also came to the basement. Seeing Lin Qi washing the 9 gene crystals, she couldn't help but come up. You want to use high-temperature disinfection and alcohol disinfection. Seeing what Lin Qi prepared, Bai Su instantly understood that this was the method that the Federation had explored when it first studied gene crystals. It was very simple, but very practical. I've tried it once, and it worked well. Thinking of the changes brought about by taking gene crystals last time, Lin Qi felt a surge of heat in his body. This thing can almost be used as a small blue pill. Good quality gene crystals can indeed be used this way, but for some special mutant beasts, the gene crystals are turbid, and they must be decomposed with hydrochloric acid to remove the impurities inside. Gene crystals can not only greatly benefit humans, but also mutant creatures. The original intensification experiment required a large amount of gene crystals to promote it. Bai Su's research is inseparable from this thing. She knew that this thing was very precious, and she no longer asked Lin Qi for it. How about this? I have 3 mutant mouse gene crystals here. There are a lot of impurities in them, and they can't be taken directly. You can help me decompose them. You can keep the crystals for yourself, and give me the gene fluid and sticky colloid. Lin Qi took out the 3 mutant mouse gene crystals and handed them to Bai Su. Anyway, this crystal has too many impurities and cannot be taken directly, so it is better to let Bai Su fully decompose and use them. With a bait, he could attract mutant beasts continuously, and he would not be short of gene crystals in a short time. After distinguishing the pros and cons, Lin Qi was still willing to be a person who is willing to make sacrifices. Well, I won't bother you anymore. Bai Su put away the gene crystals and went upstairs with satisfaction. It was better to have something than nothing. After soaking in the strong liquor for a while, the 9 gene crystals began to emit a red light. Lin Qi took them all out at this time and handed them to Zhao Tuanchuan. You keep these things first, and we will try to take them at night. In broad daylight, Lin Qi didn't want to have nowhere to vent after eating this thing. Only when it was late at night and everyone was asleep, and then combined with the lock-picking technique, He should be able to open Tuanchuan's gene lock in one fell swoop. Then I'll keep it for my husband first. Zhao Tuanchuan happily put the gene crystals into her pocket. She naturally knew the preciousness of this kind of thing, and Lin Qi's trust made her beautiful eyes tremble with emotion. She wanted to be sick of it now. However, she didn't arouse the other party's interest after wandering around in front of Lin Qi several times, and she was unhappy for a while. Tuanchuan, your husband is busy working, why are you only thinking about that? You are so ignorant. Zhao Tuanchuan muttered to herself, watching Lin Qi busy operating the machine on the workbench, and was very annoyed by her irrational behavior. So she sorted out the pile of mutant bird feathers and began to sort out the useful feathers. After finishing, she went to prepare lunch. Lin Qi was making a gun barrel. Among the materials piled next to him, there was a steel pipe of suitable thickness, and it was the kind that had been rifled. He just simply processed it and sealed the two ends, and a tipless gun was ready. He made 4 spares in a row before stopping. Zhao Tuanchuan had already prepared lunch and shouted at the stairs. Lin Qi simply asked her to bring the meal down and ate it quickly on the workbench. Teacher Bio also asked me to bring the meal up. You two don't want to eat when you are busy. Tuanchuan looked helpless. Now in the whole villa, she is the only one who has the most free time. She doesn't have to do anything except cooking. Tuanchuan, if you have nothing to do, go to the 2nd floor underground to practice archery, so that you can help when you encounter danger. In the future, Zhao Tuanchuan will definitely be the one who will accompany him for a long time. If your strength is too weak, it will be a bit of a burden. Lin Qi thinks it is necessary for her to master some skills. Okay, then I will practice every day in the future. Zhao Tuanchuan nodded. In fact, during this period, she would exercise whenever she had time. In addition, due to her special physique, her physical fitness is almost stronger than that of an average adult, but she has never had the opportunity to show it. Seeing Lin Qi eating voraciously, she performed the milking technique on the spot and squeezed a large cup of hot milk for Lin Qi. Drink it while it's hot, it will cool down later. Looking at the fresh milk that was almost overflowing, Zhao Tuanchuan carefully picked it up and brought it to Lin Qi's mouth. Why use a cup? What a waste. Lin Qi quickly took a sip, so that it didn't spill. Wait until night, I can't stand it now. Tuan rolled his eyes at Lin Qi, and without clearing the dishes on the workbench, he quickly walked to the 2nd underground floor to start training. This little girl is getting more and more seductive. Lin Qi smiled to himself. Women are one of the driving forces for men to move forward in the apocalypse. The second is weapons. After making 4 gun barrels, Lin Qi began to try to make a knife. After all, the ability he explored was to use tools or weapons to activate skills, and it has a certain degree of randomness, so he naturally had to try more. In the past, he didn't have the time and energy, but now he even has things like machine tools. If he doesn't make good use of them, God will come out and scold him. It was the first time to make a knife. Lin Qi had no experience. He took a piece of alloy steel plate, cut and polished it, and was busy for 3 hours before he made a knife blank. After wrapping the handle with leather, he simply opened the blade. Although it was not a weapon made by normal forging and quenching technology, the materials collected by Baisu were all high-quality steel. Whether it was hardness or toughness, they were at the top stage. The sharpness of this knife was naturally extraordinary. It just looks ugly. Lin Qi tried to swing it a few times. This long sword with a handle of 1.4 meters felt very heavy and could be used for chopping and stabbing. It was a top-notch sword. So he carried the arrow and the gun barrel, walked out of the basement and came outside. Animal repellent powder was sprinkled outside the villa, which could effectively block the smell left before, and also make the mutant beasts unwilling to approach. However, there were already several zombies surrounding the car 500 meters away, frantically scratching the windows. The smell of mutant beasts' blood was very attractive to zombies. Lin Qi quickly stepped forward, and after realizing that there were no other mutant beasts nearby, he picked up the long sword in his hand and chopped the back of the zombie's head. Kill zombies with a sword and obtain basic sword skills. Current skills can be advanced. 1. Swing the long sword 100 times. 2. Kill 10 zombies with a sword. The lowest level of advanced requirements can be easily completed. Chapter 48 Tuan's unlocking status. However, there were far less than 10 zombies in front of him. Lin Qi stuck his long knife into the ground, replaced it with a long spear, and quickly dealt with the remaining zombies. Then he searched the area again, and after making sure that there were no omissions, he returned to the villa. Teacher Bai Su was still in the research room on the second floor, and it seemed that she had not come out for the whole afternoon. Tuan Tuan was practicing archery in the second floor of the basement. Lin Qi took a look and did not disturb her. Everyone was doing their most important thing, not wasting any opportunity for improvement. Seeing that it was still early, Lin Qi returned to the workbench, took out the materials and began to make metal arrows. With the feathers of these mutant magpies, the previous featherless arrows can be slightly modified, and the power will change dramatically. Because of the characteristics of the spiral arrow, Lin Qi made the arrow feathers into spiral feathers, further increasing the rotation force, and the power was not a little bit increased. They were busy until the evening. Tuan Tuan went to prepare dinner in advance, and after washing up, they returned to their rooms. Bai Su was still busy in the laboratory. Today, he collected some samples outside and put them in the culture dish. He must always pay attention to the changes. Lin Qi and Zhao Tuanxuan were already on the bed in the bedroom. They took the gene crystal and swallowed it. A warm current flowed into her body, and Tuanxuan's face instantly turned red, and her body exuded a faint fragrance of heat. Hubby, I'm so swollen. Originally, the exercise this afternoon had almost consumed her own reserves, but this gene crystal entering her stomach made her body agitated again, and she could even feel a heat flow gathering in her chest. It was getting bigger and bigger, even bulging her pajamas. However, what surprised Lin Qi was that after swallowing the gene crystal, Zhao Tuanxuan's progress in opening the gene lock actually increased by 1,000, and there was not much left to reach the requirement of 10,000. Could it be that after taking the gene crystal to a certain extent, even without my help, the gene lock can be opened? Lin Qi was puzzled, but his body involuntarily helped to speed up the progress. 8,365, 8,366 in the laboratory, Bai Su looked at the surveillance screen and almost made the wrong medicine several times. This visual impact directly overturned her previous cognition of only observing the old-fashioned reproduction movements. Is it really that comfortable? Bai Su muttered quietly, put away the tools on the lab table, and turned to walk upstairs. As she left, the entire laboratory slowly fell into darkness. The next morning, Lin Qi woke up early, opened his eyes and looked around. Tuanxuan got up earlier than him. When they were preparing to go to bed in the second half of the night, they suddenly found that the whole bed was wet, so they could only carefully come to Lin Qi's room. This early in the morning, Tuanxuan should have gone to deal with the traces of the battle. By the way, I don't know what changes will happen after the gene lock is opened. Lin Qi suddenly thought that he had pushed the progress of 10,000 to perfection last night, but at that time, who would care about what changes would happen after the gene lock was opened, and there was no time to study it. So he didn't bother to wash up, and quickly left the room to look for Zhao Tuanxuan's traces. The traces of the battlefield have been restored in the next room, and the new sheets are neatly laid out and clean, and even the traces of splashing on the wall have disappeared. Where did he go? Lin Qi was puzzled and went downstairs. There was no sign of Tuanxuan in the kitchen, and even Bai Su was not there. However, when he came to the basement, he suddenly heard a subtle sound. So he quickly went down to the second floor of the basement, and sure enough, he saw Bai Su and Zhao Tuanxuan in an open space. What are you doing here? For some reason, Lin Qi saw a trace of solemnity in the expressions of the two people, as if something important had happened. Brother Lin, my body seems to be a little abnormal. When Zhao Tuanxuan saw Lin Qi, a blank look flashed in her eyes and quickly disappeared. She hurried over, her face full of worry. After reaching the critical point last night, Zhao Tuanxuan noticed the changes in her body, but at that time she was still experiencing the mystery of her body and had no time to pay attention. When she woke up in the morning, she realized something was wrong. Seeing that Lin Qi was still sleeping soundly, she did not disturb him. After cleaning up the battlefield, she met Teacher Bai on the first floor, and then the two came to the second floor of the basement to find out what had changed. What's going on? Lin Qi looked at Zhao Tuanxuan carefully, but from her performance, there was no change at all. She opened the gene lock. Teacher Bai said in a cautious tone. The Federal Scientific Research Program had also conducted in-depth research on human gene evolution before, but at first it all stopped at a gene restriction. Later, after studying a large number of mutant creatures, they found a way to break through this restriction. After the gene awakens, Taking about 10 gene crystals will touch that gene restriction, but under this restriction, no matter how many gene crystals are taken, the gene will not evolve at all, as if it was blocked. Later, after extreme research, someone finally broke through this restriction, and this process is called opening the gene lock. Baisu told the two people the news of the gene lock in detail, but she was very confused because Tuanchun didn't seem to feel any sequelae after opening the gene lock. You must know that of the 10 experimental subjects who participated in the experiment, 2 of them couldn't bear the backlash and died on the spot, and the remaining few took several days to recover. Moreover, every time the gene lock is opened, it will bring a heavy burden to the body. Tuanchun, open it again and let me see. Lin Qi was very curious about the gene lock. After all, in his cognition, the power of the gene lock reached a certain level, which could almost destroy the world. He just didn't know how strong the genes in this world could be. Zhao Tuanchun heard Lin Qi's words, took a deep breath, and slowly closed her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, her momentum suddenly changed. The pupils of her eyes dilated slightly, and Zhao Tuanchun just adjusted her standing posture, which gave Lin Qi a feeling of invulnerability. Husband, I feel very powerful now. Even more powerful than you. The opening of the gene lock gave Zhao Tuanchun blind confidence. Her eyes flashed while she spoke, and there was an inexplicable smile on the corner of her mouth. It was the first time she called Lin Qi like this in front of Baisu, which proved that after opening the gene lock, the changes brought about were not only physical, but also personality. Better than me? Then let's compete. Lin Qi was eager to try, and wanted to know how strong Tuan, whose gene lock he had unlocked, was. So he pulled away and casually threw his coat to Baisu, who was watching the fun. In that case, I'll be the referee. You two should stop when you are satisfied and don't hurt yourself. Baisu looked like she was watching the fun, and it was a good opportunity to understand the strength of the two people. For her, this was extremely important. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49, Foreign Convoy. The battle lasted only a few seconds before the two of them decided the winner. After activating the gene lock, Zhao Tuanchun, who possessed instinctive fighting skills, subdued Lin Qi in just a moment. His fingers pressed on the vital part of Lin Qi's neck, completely restraining Lin Qi's resistance. I'm not ready yet, why are you coming up to entangle me? Lin Qi was careless and did not dodge. If he had been prepared, he would not have been so fast. Of course, with a full strength burst at this moment, he could easily break free from Kai Tuanchun's restraints, but it was no longer necessary. Zhao Tuanchun, who had activated the gene lock, was agile and climbed onto Lin Qi's back at a glance, leaving him no time to react. I'm sorry, Brother Lin, I didn't know it would be like this. It was just a subconscious reaction just now. I had to do that without hurting you. At this moment, the pupils of Zhao Tuanchun's eyes had shrunk to their original state, and the sharp breath just now became gentle, with an awkward smile on his face. Forget it, it's different when the gene lock is turned on. Let's compete again in the evening. Lin Qi didn't feel embarrassed. After all, although his strength has improved a lot, it was all due to the blessing of weapons in his hands. In terms of bare-handed combat, he is not even as good as a well-trained soldier. It is natural that he lost to Zhao Tuanchun, who turned on the gene lock. Don't look at this little girl's frailty. Her real strength and physical strength are almost not much weaker than Lin Qi. Tuanchun, come with me to the laboratory later. I want to record some data. From morning to now, Zhao Tuanchun has turned on the gene lock 3 times, but her body has no sequelae, which is completely different from their previous research data. If a solution can be found, it will be an opportunity for human evolution. After breakfast, the two entered the laboratory on the 2nd floor for research. It seems that they will not be able to come out for a long time. After Lin Qi was busy for a while, he took his equipment and walked outside. When he arrived at the bait site yesterday, several zombies appeared around the car, and several gray magpies were circling in the air, diving to attack the zombies from time to time. Every time they attacked, they would tear off a piece of rotten meat, swallow it into their stomachs, and shout excitedly for a while. A zombie had a large piece of scalp torn off, revealing a bald skull, but it was still excitedly scratching the car glass. The temptation of flesh and blood is really great. It was cold in winter, and even if they were placed in the car, the bird corpses would not rot. The fresh smell of flesh and blood would continuously attract the zombies and mutant beasts around, so that Lin Qi didn't have to spend a lot of effort to find prey. After approaching a few dozen meters, Lin Qi drew his bow and shot an arrow. The spiral arrow easily hit the mutant gray magpie in the sky, and the force of the rotation even directly tore their bodies. The gray magpie is smaller than the magpie yesterday. This kind of bird is also a gregarious bird. Often several of them live together, chirping non-stop. Sensing the death of their companions, the remaining gray magpies suddenly became irritable, flapping their wings and screaming as they rushed towards Lin Qi. However, with the blessing of high-level archery, mutant creatures of this level could not get close at all, and would only become living targets for Lin Qi. After shooting several of them to death, the rest flew high into the sky and quickly fled from here. This bird is quite smart. There are few birds in winter, and the local resident birds can only see magpies and sparrows. The chance of survival for small birds like sparrows is really too small. Lin Qi cracked the heads of these gray magpies, took out 5 gene crystals, and threw all the corpses into the cart to continue using them as bait. The villa area is different, rats are rare. After searching around and encountering no strange things, Lin Qi was about to return to the villa when he suddenly heard the roar of a car in the distance. Is anyone coming? More than a dozen cars lined up in a row, slowly driving in this direction. It seems that they have the same purpose as Lin Qi, preparing to find a suitable camp in the villa area. When the cars were about to drive to the villa, Lin Qi had already returned to the villa in advance, but he could still see the situation outside through the observation hole on the door. Stop. The SUV in the front just stopped at the door. Several men got out of the car and observed the surroundings. Boss, there should be someone in this villa. Along the way, the snow in most areas had not melted completely, so it was clear at a glance whether there were any people moving around. After all, the activity tracks of zombies and mutants are completely different from those of humans. The people here are not simple. There was a zombie nest on the way we came just now. It should be the people here who attacked it. The way this man spoke was definitely a fishing man. The window of the second car slowly opened, revealing the face of a middle-aged man with a dark-skinned skin. Boss, do you want to visit? They came from the west of the city and delayed for a few days. After part of the snow melted, they came to the villa area in the north of the city. The villa area in the north of the city has the property of this gangster boss, but it is not in this area. Don't bother. If they want to say hello, they will come out when they hear the car sound. It is obvious that they don't want to see us. Why bother yourself? The car window gradually rose, and the gangster boss glanced at the gate of the villa and smiled nonchalantly. Before the end of the world, he owned several factories and was worth hundreds of millions. Because of special channels, he learned some secret information one step ahead, so he made a lot of arrangements. He also has a villa in the north of the city, which is stockpiled with a large amount of supplies, and his team has been loyal to his own factory for many years. Those who can open a factory have some connection with the black and white worlds. The predecessor of this gangster boss's family was originally some forces involved in the nature of the underworld, but at that time, they whitewashed their identities in time, bought some factories, and paid tribute to the upper level every year, so that they could continue. There were 18 vehicles in the convoy. The first 5 were off-road vehicles, which were full of people. The middle 3 were modified trucks, which were made of thick steel plates and even had steel mesh on the windshield. The last 10 were box trucks, which were full of supplies. One car after another roared past, and some drivers even deliberately stepped on the accelerator, as if to declare their rights. Such noise also alarmed Bai Su and Xiao Tuanshun in the villa. The two came to the door of the villa, holding pistols in their hands and on guard. Husband, who is outside? I don't know what the two talked about upstairs. Tuanshun now dared to call Lin Qi intimately in front of Bai Su. A group of convoys, with quite a few people, should want to occupy some villas as a camp. Originally, there were only 3 people in the villa area, and without being disturbed by outsiders, they should be able to survive for a few months, or even longer. But now that there are so many more people, there will definitely be more unknown changes. More people means there will be all kinds of accidents, attracting unknown mutant beasts, or those with bad intentions. Chapter 50 Headshot. The 3 of them quickly went up to the 3rd floor. From the high view, They could just see the convoy gradually driving towards the center of the villa area and stopped in front of a villa. Before long, hundreds of people gathered in front of the villa. Especially the modified cars in the middle. Several young women got out of them. The black boss stepped forward to open the gate of the villa. Half of the group of people went in, and the rest were guarding outside. It seems that we will have neighbors. One villa cannot accommodate more than 100 people. They will definitely occupy the nearby villas slowly, and even come to disturb them. Bai Su's eyes were full of worry. The other party had a large number of people, and it would be a troublesome matter to use open knives and hidden guns. Don't worry, everyone should keep to themselves. If they dare to offend, let them have no way back. As his physical fitness gradually improved, Lin Qi became more and more proficient in using bows and arrows. Now this 80-pound bow already felt a little light. And with the ability to see at night, all he needed to wipe out this team was enough arrows. With people outside, Lin Qi did not plan to continue searching. Fortunately, he had obtained several gene crystals today, which were enough for the next period of time. In the afternoon, Bai Su took the two to the laboratory on the second floor and began to explain the direction of human gene evolution and various extensions in various aspects. Most of the genetic changes of mutant beasts are manifested externally, which is called atavism, while the genetic changes of insects are manifested as a whole, which is called evolution. Humans are somewhat different from the first two, called gene awakening, and stimulate their own gene awakening by taking gene crystals of various mutant creatures. A maximum of 1 gene crystal can be taken every day. After 24 hours, when the body has completely digested it, the second one can be taken. Generally, after 10, the body before the first level gene lock is open reaches the limit of endurance. Some of the information was previously seen on the internet in one-sided content, but there was no detailed explanation. At this moment, hearing Teacher Bai's detailed explanation, it suddenly opened people's eyes. As expected of a teacher, the explanation is very comprehensive. It was not until the evening that today's class was stopped. After dinner, Lin Qi and Tuanchuan returned to the room, took out the gene crystals and started taking them. Honey, I've already opened the gene lock, so I won't eat them. I'll leave them all for you. Tuanchuan now knows how precious the gene crystals are. In addition to taking them, they also have special uses, so she wants to save some. We can get gene crystals at any time, so there's no need to save them. Besides, if you don't eat them, how can you last that long later? Lin Qi swallowed 2 gene crystals in one gulp, pried open Tuanchuan's mouth, and put one in. With a push of his tongue, it went directly into her throat. Suddenly, a hot current flowed through the bodies of the two. Tuanchuan's pupils dilated slightly, and she opened the gene lock directly. She turned over, but she only took a few simple movements to remove all her clothes. Wow, it turns out that opening the gene lock has this ability. This way of undressing is simply unprecedented, and it's more about Tuanchuan's body flexibility. After many physical changes, Tuanchuan's physical fitness has reached the limit of ordinary people, especially after opening the gene lock. He can accurately control the strength of his limbs, so that he can do actions that he never dared to think of before. The images in the laboratory were still playing. Bai Su was absent-mindedly adjusting the culture medium, her eyes always wandering on the monitoring screen. The impact of just 3 days completely destroyed her concept of men and women. Is it the sequelae of gene awakening? The original reproduction process has become so crazy. Will I become like this in the future? Bai Su muttered to herself, as if she had noticed something wrong with her body, so she reached out and touched it. Looking at the transparent mucus between her fingers, she was stunned. In the next few days, Lin Qi only went out to hunt when he saw that the bait car attracted mutant beasts, and then returned quickly. Most of the rest of the time was spent training with Tuanchuan on the second floor of the basement. When the gene lock was turned on, Tuanchuan had instinctive fighting skills and was Lin Qi's best sparring partner. From being defeated in one move at the beginning to being able to hold on later, Lin Qi's learning progress was getting faster and faster, and he could already fight back and forth with Tuanchuan. Exercise in the morning, study in the afternoon, and have in-depth exchanges with Tuanchuan in the evening, making full use of the time of the day. That day, when they were having lunch at noon, the alarm in the villa suddenly sounded, startling all 3 of them. Someone is approaching the villa. During this period, most of the villas were occupied by that force, and almost every day someone was outside searching for supplies, but they never disturbed them. However, this situation could not last too long, And there were always some people who could not control their curiosity. Lin Qi glanced out the window and saw someone sticking his head out of the wall next to the gate, obviously preparing to climb over the wall to enter. What a courage! Whether it is peacetime or doomsday, entering someone else's residence without permission is unforgivable, not to mention that these people's purpose is very clear. Opening the window, Lin Qi took down an arrow and put it on the bowstring, pulling hard to aim. At this moment, on the outer wall of the villa, the man who climbed over the wall had already seen the layout of the villa and was reporting to the outside with a happy face. Brother Wang, there are only a few people in this villa at most, and there are not many footprints on the ground. During this period, they broke into several villas, occupied the comfortable environment of the rich, and enjoyed the comfort that they had never had in peacetime. With his ambition growing, he would not take it to heart even if he knew there was someone in the villa. Even after breaking in, he could have some fun to release the pressure in his heart for many days. Go in and pry the door open. If there's something good, I will let you enjoy it first. Outside the villa, a man wearing sunglasses ordered coldly. The door of this villa is very special and cannot be opened by ordinary means. You must enter the inside to find an opportunity. Brother Wang, are you serious? You let me enjoy the woman first. The man on the wall was happy, and when he was about to cut off the power grid, his body suddenly shook and his head exploded instantly. An arrow was still going strong and nailed directly to the big tree outside the villa. Blood and brain matter sprayed all over the ground, soaking the heads of the people below, and the sticky nausea almost made people vomit. Fuck. Run. A headless corpse fell straight down, scaring several people to flee in a hurry, and no longer dared to stay at the door for a long time. They ran to the corner a few hundred meters away. The remaining four were still pale and panting. Brother Wang, Xiaozhu's head exploded. The younger brother beside him said tremblingly. He didn't even see what happened clearly. Damn it. I saw it. You don't need to remind me again. Brother Wang took off his sunglasses, wiped the brain juice off his face, and put his sunglasses back on with trembling hands. Let's go. Go back and get help. The people here are not easy to mess with. Since the doomsday, they have seen life and death, and even killed people, but this kind of head exploding in front of them is the first time they have experienced it. They were scared and confused for a while. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.